bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here. It is a Monday, which means it's an overreaction Monday to a very busy weekend of action worldwide, but especially domestically. Atlanta United won 2-1 over a very tough Charlotte FC side. We'll talk about that match and how everything went, what Charlotte did well, what they didn't do well, what Atlanta did well, what they didn't do well. We'll get into all of that as we go today. I'm sure most of the reactions will be about that. There will be reactions about the rest of the MLS slate from the weekend, maybe some reactions about Atlanta United too, and their narrow loss in Lou City yesterday or Saturday night. Very close game in that one. The Twos are back in action on Wednesday in Kennesaw at Fifth Third Bank Stadium, home opener. Hope to see some of y'all there. If not, you can watch on ESPN Plus. We've got Jarrett for about 22 minutes, and Jarrett, I asked you if you were high when you picked RSL to beat New England. I still hold that was a valid question for picking that. The sun shines on the Dogs every once in a while. I think New England was high for blowing a 2-goal lead in the last 13 minutes.
Okay, see, I was going to let this simmer until
no, it's all good.
mark.
It's all good because everybody loves it. Everybody loves it when I get something wrong. Never anything when I make a call right. But when I get something wrong, It's
Everyone does not like Ricky Ricardo and I do not include everyone.
You do.
We were just
you do.
having.
I know how it is. No, you do. You do. It's okay.
We were having a ball at that. I wasn't high. I just happened to give some to New England because I don't care about the weather. Carlos Heel. I don't care about the weather. You blew a 2-goal lead to a team that was dead in the water.
No, I do care about the weather too. You can say that, and that's all nice and well and good, and you got your pick right. So, credit to you. But those were not very good playable conditions, and I don't necessarily blame Carlos Hill for being frustrated about it.
I'm just totally being irrational about it because it's fun in this moment.
And that's why I asked if you were high when you made the pick. It came good, and that's how MLS is sometimes, right? You make picks.
Yeah, I said Saturday night. Like, this is like, if you ever watch The Office, the scene where Kevin makes the giant vat of chili and is carrying it to the office, and like 3 steps in, he slips and falls, and the chili goes everywhere. We're at that stage of MLS season where he's just starting to slip up where, you thought you had all these teams. No, you didn't have it. Weird things will happen. Yeah, New England's probably going to be one of the top teams in the East. But we're to that point of the season already in week 3 where weird things will start happening, and you just don't bet on this league because game to game, It's so weird. The travel's weird, the weather's weird, teams are weird, the balance of the teams is weird because of salary cap situations. You don't have a team that's spending $300 million versus a team that's spending $10 million.
It's not as easy. You don't have even in that one, New England has an advantage over RSL because I think they have a better roster. They're at home, but it's not a wide enough margin that chaos can't happen. And that was chaos. That was a hell of a comeback for RSL.
It was a lot of fun to watch, not even for my reasoning of I picked it and I'm giggling.
Oh, no, that was a big part of it. And that's okay.
But it was fun to watch anyway. This is amazing.
Yeah, Minnesota going to Red Bulls and winning that one, that was completely unexpected. Cincinnati going to Orlando, that was completely unexpected. You got some of those over the weekend. Chicago going to D.C., that was expected. That was one that I did pick right from an underdog perspective. I missed on the other ones. Yeah, I can't remember what yours was on that. I'm marking mine to see how I do.
I may have picked a draw on that. I'm going to have to start keeping track of it.
I didn't pick Chicago,
Yeah, I'm keeping mine on
Chicago. I know I don't trust DC.
I'm doing mine on SofaScore just so I have it logged. So when we go through them, I'm marking my pick, but that's just for my own purposes. I had my best week of the 3, and still missed on the New England one, missed on Red Bulls. There were the upsets that I hit. The only one I got was Chicago. The others I missed. So anyway, good job. You and New England were both high when these things happened. So I'll give you credit for that. At least you found the right wavelength. What'd you think? You guys did salty takeaways, but what did you think in a synopsis form, John, of yesterday with Atlanta having to fight for it, but getting a 2-1 win late against Charlotte?
Yeah, that was the big thing for me is that, Charlotte came to play, and that was one of the biggest things for me out of this. And you're seeing getting Charlotte now and getting them in a month. I think that for the teams that are going to get Charlotte early, it's going to be a different version than the one that you're going to get later. So I think that if you're looking for points, you better get him now. Kalina, once again, was out of his mind, and I think that he's going to steal some points for Charlotte along the way all season long, because when you have the opportunity late by Joseph, and Kalina just makes the absolute reach save and knocks it over the bar, and Joseph is sitting there applauding at, I guess, both the buildup and the save from Kalina. Game respects game. I tip my hat to Charlotte. I give them a lot of credit, but also at the same time, Gonzalo Pineda got the substitutions right, and the pass from Marcelino Moreno to Jake Mulraney was absolutely insane. And I give, and once again, Jake Mulraney gets a lot of credit. Trying it the first time, didn't get it, comes back the second time, and it was a point that you made last week about a concern for Charlotte is a 35-year-old left back. And you saw it in the first half where Ronald Hernandez was getting opportunities. Brooks Lennon was going down the right-hand side. I thought Brooks had a great game yesterday. And it was Atlanta trying to go after Christian Fuchs. And sure enough, that last opportunity with Jake Mulraney going against Christian Fuchs, Fuchs got turned a little sideways. Jake cuts it to the inside off the left, and it goes in the net. But, yeah, I know that a lot of folks this morning and yesterday have been talking about Atlanta United and defending set pieces, but I'll give Charlotte a boatload of credit for what they did yesterday off the top.
John, can I take a shot at your beloved English announcers for a second?
Sure thing.
It's not Fuchs, it's Fuchs.
Okay.
I had to correct myself because I watched him play for Leicester for so long. It's Fuchs.
Okay.
It's definitely Fuchs.
Fuchs.
I cannot trust English announcers anymore, I've learned. I have to make sure.
Johannes on these things at this point.
Well, I mean, in that case, absolutely. But in some languages, they destroy the pronunciation of the name, and I hear it so much because we see the Louisville City
so much. Broadcast team has entered the chat.
Yeah.
I didn't get to watch that live because my power was out almost 24 hours on Saturday, and Georgia Power kept teasing me that it was coming back in a few hours, and they teased me enough to where I was waiting it out, and then they laughed and pulled the football, and I go flying like Charlie Brown. So yeah, I didn't get to see anything live and didn't get to hear that. I tried to go out to the car to watch it on my phone at some point when I was freezing, and it couldn't stay up long enough for me to hear it. So I was very disappointed.
Imagine pronouncing Mushagalusa correctly, but pronouncing it David Mia and Vincent Reyes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Vincenti Reyes.
At one point, he called him Vincent. All I could think was Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. David Mia, but getting Enoch Mushagalusa.
Well, I mean, it shows you where people's backgrounds are because, I mean, for me, and I can only speak for me, I don't know who was calling this game. Latin names, no problem at this point. No problem. I can see it. You get some little, of course, quirks about it, and you have to pay attention to those. But in general, I can read those on the fly. You give me Eastern European names, I'm going to struggle off the fly. I've got to triple check on that and make sure I have it right. People's wheelhouses are in different places. I get that, but yeah, it's something that we take really seriously from our broadcast perspective. John and I, Mike and I, when we do games, it's something that we try to get right, and it's essential. Anyway, it is Fuchs. I triple checked that one because I'd heard it the other way for so long. Oy. But yes, Atlanta worked him consistently during the day. And I think that was body blow, body blow, body blow, body blow to wear him down. And then you get what you want at the end. They did the same to Jalen Lindsey. They tried to attack the flanks during the first half. Charlotte made a really important change in the second half that is not, on the flow chart, but it was all that Miguel Angel Ramirez had to work with, and he nailed it. We'll talk about that as we go in terms of how the game changed from the first half to the second half, because it was a very important change. But Jarrett, we've only got you for a little while longer. What did you not talk about on Salty Takeaway that you would like to bring to the floor right now?
I mean, we can get into that change, honestly, because it turns into a chess match where he only has so many things we can throw out there. We've talked about this before with expansion teams. You can build that first roster with your expansion team like in Atlanta, like in LAFC, or like in Nashville, where, you're a playoff caliber team with your first 11 and maybe your first 12 or 13. but it's in the depth where it's going to show. And this is the thing that Atlanta ran into in 2017 when they ran out of legs late in the season that is different now because, yeah, Charlotte has to make changes in that game, and they do. And that's the chess piece moving. Then Gonzalo Pineda immediately goes and gets Marcelino Moreno and Thiago Almada and gets them up and gets them in. But to be able to reach into the bag again and pull out a Jake Mulraney if you need to, or as guys get healthy, pull out a Santiago Sosa or a Machoke Chol when the time comes, or an Aiden McFadden if the bench is short. Like, you're pulling depth pieces that are deeper, and you can reach into your bag more times because you have the depth to do it. Charlotte, Miguel Angel Ramirez, kind of goes off the board, and it makes it really fun. Like, he goes for it. This is a really fun game. It's not like they sat back with 11 men behind the ball and decided not to play. Like, they went for it. They were winning duels. They were trying to dominate as much as they could. They were not afraid. They've completely bought into what he's doing. It's awesome. But Atlanta can go in and get those depth pieces and bring two designated players off the bench as they're working their way back to fitness. And then go bring in Jake Mulraney, who is on his worst day, a really good super sub. And I don't know how long I'm going to have to scream this before it sticks that Jake Mulraney is actually really fun and good. He's incredibly quick. He's incredibly good on the ball. And you know what, man? I said last night, fortune favors the bold. I don't know if that shot doesn't get deflected if Galinas gets it. He might, because he was getting everything.
He does.
I have to look at the angles again. I got to look at more angles on it for sure. But, when it takes a deflection off the back, we've seen Brad Guzan be in that situation before. Once it takes that deflection as a goalkeeper, you're dead in the water, and you're just praying that the post gets in the way or something happens. But fortune favors the bold. Jake Mulraney absolutely cooks the corpse, Christian Fuchs, and leaves him on the floor of Mercedes-Benz. There is a smoldering pile of ash where he was. It's like, Jake Mulraney's going to get on that left foot, and he still gets by him, like, to the point where Fuchs is, like, reaching for him, like, he wasn't going to get to him, and I don't know how many times I get to scream about Jake Mulraney being on his worst day, a really, really good super sub in MLS who can run at tired lines and not just be a speed merchant, but a guy who's really skilled on the dribble and can create in those moments. But for me, Jason, the depth wins out, and that's something that as Charlotte gets deeper into their MLS experience, they'll build on. They're going to have to build it correctly because every team has to go through that. They're going to miss on stuff. It's okay. Atlanta has missed on stuff. Every team has missed on stuff, but you want to build the depth that suits you, and that's kind of where Atlanta is and where they're able to make a difference when Charlotte plays the game they played Sunday, where they're playing their ass off. And Atlanta just needs a little bit extra. They can go into their bag and get a little bit extra more than Charlotte can.
Okay, multiple reactions. We're gonna come back to the tactics because I think it's a lot more complicated what Charlotte did at halftime. It was not a defensive move, even though it was two defenders who came on at halftime. We'll talk about the thought process for Ramirez.
Freeing up players to get forward, like Harrison Awful?
No, it's not even. It's not even that. It's going to take longer than I've got you for, possibly. So I want to touch on a couple other things. Thank you for not making an Irish reference when you talked about Jake Mulraney. You went in a different direction. I appreciate that. That was overused a little bit yesterday.
I'm still not.
Yeah, that was the easy low-hanging fruit that a lot of people went to. Couple things for Charlotte from a big perspective before we jump in. I thought Ben Bender was outstanding, and I didn't know if he had that kind of a game in him at this point in his career. Third professional match, number one pick in the super draft. The question about him coming into MLS was athleticism, and he was a number 10 at Maryland, but could he be that? And at this level, a lot of people thought no. Started on the wing, but cutting inside a lot. Again, Ramirez isn't a guy. He's a lot like Pineda in the sense. Actually, they're both really similar in a lot of things. But he's very similar in the fact that, when people start asking, Thiago Almada, is he a left winger or a central midfielder? It's like, it doesn't really matter too much because you're going to play the game as it plays. And you're sometimes going to be wide, sometimes going to be inside. There's things you're looking for because of characteristics. Brooks Lennon plays the wing very different than Almada or Moreno or a lot of people would. And he's going to play it the way he plays it. So you have to, when he's there, you use that. What Charlotte did in their changes was actually really creative to make things happen. But Bender was one who was affected by those changes because he was playing mostly on the wing with Titi Ortiz as a 10, although it was very interchangeable. Bender came inside in the second half, but would then drift out. So instead of coming from the outside in the flow of the game in the first half, he would go inside out in the second half. He gets the assist on the set piece, but created a ton of chances. Bender was outstanding. I didn't think he had that kind of a game in him. If there's any questions about rivalry, which I think this will be one, if it isn't now, if you want to be a hardliner about it, that's fine. It will be because of games like this, because these games are going to be very competitive and very filled with friction. And that's good. That's a good thing. It was a really good game. It was a joy to call the game. It was one of those after the game that, I'm talking to Mike and I'm like, this is why I do this. This is why I enjoy doing this, because there was so much going on to so many levels. There's just the surface level of good players playing well. There's the tactical battle between the two. There's all the intangibles on the field. You've got Ozzie Alonso, coming in and drawing attention from the referee when they're trying to argue about a call and this and that. He gets in Alan Franco's head a little bit. Charlotte Alan Franco, who is like trying to talk smack to Ozzie Alonso, is just laughing at him. I mean, you get all these different things within the game that were really, really good. There was a lot to deal with in this, and it was a fun one. I agree with you, Jarrett. Charlotte will be better. They will continue to improve. It's for me, and I want to be really clear in this because I think I've been hard on Charlotte, and I want to be very clear in why. It's not about missing on some additions. It's about not making the additions in the first place. You can miss. Everybody's going to miss. Everybody's going to sign a guy that everything looks right on paper. The background looks right. They should be a perfect fit tactically, and they don't adjust well, or there's something going on at home that is a distraction for them, or they just don't handle being away from their family very well. There's so many different things that can throw a move off that you don't know about. That's not my frustration with Charlotte. My frustration is the fact that in this game, you have to play Bender, who I don't think is a winger, out wide. You're playing Ortiz centrally because you don't really have that playmaker there. Ramirez is having to figure it out and guess. You don't have any additional wingers, period. So you're playing fullbacks on the wing, which, again, worked and was a tactical masterstroke from Miguel Angel Ramirez. But he's not been given the tools to do what he can do. That's why I've criticized Charlotte. I'd like for them to miss on a couple because then they've at least done something. There's some position groups that they just haven't filled. And that's when you get into what's coming for Atlanta, and we're starting to see the glimpses of it, and you're starting to hear the conversations. All right, Sosa was on the bench here, okay? Is it Sosa and Alonso? Is it Sosa or Alonso? What about when Heineman comes back? What about when Ibarra comes back? Does Sejdic sit? Does Osetu sit? Do both of them sit? Does Moreno play centrally? Does Almada play centrally? That takes away another central midfielder. George Campbell's been really good, but he's probably going to go to the bench behind Robinson and Franco, Lennon and Hernandez. This is the difference in the conversations. And yes, you're dealing with a team that's in year 6 versus a team that's in year 1, but this is why you have to have depth. Because, Jared, as we see, you're going to have these injuries where you have to be able to turn to people with the injuries, with the new faces that Atlanta's bringing in. You've got 2 wins out of 3. You're in a good position. Charlotte has had injuries, has had a number of different things, but they don't have people to turn to. And Ramirez is having to try to pull magic tricks to get results. Nearly did it in Atlanta, but you couldn't pull it off because he doesn't have enough to work with. It's just a flat out number of bodies at times for Charlotte. They just don't have enough in certain positions, and he has to get so creative to figure it out. But he will coach them up. There's no doubt about that. With what we've seen from game 1 to game 3, Charlotte has dramatically improved, and it's a credit to their manager, Ramirez. And they're going to be a handful when we see them in a couple of weeks at home. Final thoughts, Jarrett, before you go?
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with New England next week. That's another team that's going to come in. New England's going to be pissed off, first of all, because New England is coming in after
Well,
everything that happened with
New England's they're not even going to be worried about RSL. They got CCL this week, midweek.
Oh, I know.
True, they got leg too.
And there's going to be a question for them and a question for all these CCL teams how their legs look. This also fits into as we get into the week for Atlanta coming up against Montreal. Montreal has a home match against Cruz Azul with a 1-0 deficit that is completely capable of being overturned. And if it is, I mean, you could have 4 MLS teams in the semifinals of CONCACAF Champions League if everyone takes care of business. But the idea that Montreal is going to have to put in, yeoman's work against Cruz Azul. What are their legs going to be like on the weekend? Because there were questions about New England's legs in the second half of that game yesterday. What are New England's legs going to be like going into Charlotte next weekend as Charlotte FC welcomes them to town, because they will still have the skill players in the same way that can absolutely be that difference. And I've run out of ways to give credit to Galena. Dude was great. He was really, really good. What you need, especially as a young team, you've got to have that goalkeeper who can organize things, and then when things break down, can make the big save. Because with a different goalkeeper, Joseph maybe had a hat trick yesterday.
Yeah, possibly. At least another one, because the late chance was top notch, and that's one that you think is a goal. Yeah, you see it, you just like back of the net goal.
Yeah, I mean that thing is burning a hole in the roof of the net. If it's clean. Yeah, this is the. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're almost done. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that thing's going to burn a hole in the roof of the net if it's clean through. And the first one is the back pass stolen. Man, Tyler Wolf's wide open on the left side, but I don't know if Joseph has a clear passing lane to him because the way things are closing down.
He did. He did.
I couldn't tell if he did or not.
No, he 100% did. But and I was talking with Mike about this at halftime. You can't make that pass if you're Joseph Martinez. You got to go to goal. If it's the other way around and it's Tyler Wolf going to goal there and Joseph Martinez is wide open in the middle, you're going to yell at Tyler for not making the pass. It's Joseph. He's got the green light to go to goal anytime he wants to go to goal. It's the striker mentality. It's just a different thing. He didn't get his head up because he's determined to go to goal there. McCoon did a good job to make it more difficult, but yeah, he had the split to play it between the two defenders to Tyler for sure. But he's got to go to goal there, and I have no problem with it.
Oh yeah, I have no problem with him going to goal because Joseph, you're expecting him to get the job done in that instance. And he'll feel the same way. This is the same thing with hey, Joseph's going to feel like he should have done better on that. I said last night that Brad Guzan's going to tell you he should have done better on the goal that Charlotte scores off the set piece. Vicente Reyes had a great game for the twos in goal. Punched like a 7-8 or something for his Sofa score. Mm-hmm. But he's going to tell you should have done better on the goal he gives up because it's a rocket that Mushkalusa leaves off, and it's an absolute rocket to his lower left-hand side. He gets a hand to it, but his hand wasn't strong enough, and it rolls off his fingers and just kind of spins past the line. Like, he's going to tell you should have done better. I mean, guys can have good games and still tell you that they should have done better in a couple of moments. That's all it can take to be the difference. That's all right, Jared. They're going to learn from it.
You hanging out with us for soccer over there tonight?
I'm trying to.
Okay.
I'm intending to. I don't know when I'll crash, but I'll probably crash just so we can go to games.
Well, we will see you then, and enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
I will. You do the same.
I'll try.
Okay. That's all I have.
Jarrett is out the door. Okay, here's what we've got to get into. We got to get into those changes from Ramirez. I want to finish with what Jarrett was just talking about with goalkeepers and strikers because it's important. And I think when we talk about this stuff, it's very important. Those are the guys who get the most criticism, and it's the most obvious to give them criticism. Midfielders, defenders, it's a little bit harder at times, and maybe you're searching for things. Strikers, you have an opportunity, you don't score, boo that guy. Goalkeepers, you make 5 saves, but you give up a goal that maybe you could have saved, boo that guy. That's the nature of that position, and the people who are great at it know that. You have to have that short-term amnesia at times and be able to forget about the things that didn't go your way. It's really tough. Credit to Joseph on the penalty. That's a really well-taken penalty. Kalina I thought, waited him out to try to see where he was going to go rather than just blindly guess. So by doing that, he can't get full coverage into the corner. Joseph has to hit that as well as he did, and he did. So well taken penalty. Set piece we'll get into. Armour got in between two Charlotte players. I think Ronald Hernandez was the one initially following Armour and then went to the player in front of him and couldn't win the initial header. When he stepped to that player, it looked like Campbell tried to close the gap. It wasn't Campbell's guy. It's really down to individuals on set pieces at this point. It's not about something that the coaching staff has to do. That's not what defending a corner is all about in these moments. It's about winning your individual battles, and they have to be more locked in to do that. And if it's, I mean, the thing for the coaching staff is marking man to man easier for that. But if you lose your battle, then forget it. Or is doing something zonally easier for that. But then you've got to be even more switched on, in my opinion, when something comes into your zone to deal with it. So there's a lot to juggle there. But more than anything, defending set pieces, especially corners, it's individual battles. It's down to the individuals on the field. And you've got to be locked in those moments. And at times, Atlanta United's not. If defending corners is the biggest weakness that the team has, that's okay. I will take that in a heartbeat because you don't get as many opportunities to score from corners as you do from the run of play. So I will 100% take that. Doesn't mean you don't try to work on it, but if that's the issue, I'll take that as my issue. There's other teams with bigger issues. We'll get into questions as well from the Twitch pitch. I know we've got a couple on Twitter that we'll start with. But I want to dig into this change that Charlotte made and what it did to the game, because I think it's really important to talk about the effect of it as well. So they brought on Harrison Offal, who had not played yet this season, always been a right back for Columbus the last 7 years. He came on in the right wing. And you brought on Adam Armour, who has been a left back on the left wing. Pulled Ortiz, pulled Gaines. Okay. That was not a defensive move by any stretch. I thought when I saw it, all right, they're going to protect Fuchs because Atlanta's been running at him. He had some very tired plays late in the half. They're going to protect him. Armour's going to play left wing back. They'll go to 3 center backs, and Fuchs will be the left center back. That's where I thought it was going to go. It's not where it went. They kept their same 4-3-3 idea. It just had Armour as a left back playing left wing and Offal a right back playing right wing. What did that do? I think the number that comes out the most glaring in this is the possession difference between the first half and the second half. Atlanta United first half, 70.5% of the ball. Second half, 51.1% of the ball. Passing accuracy. Second half was 77%. First half was 87%. In my opinion, what that move did is it prevented Atlanta from building the play up cleanly. The second half became much more 50-50 in terms of chances created, in terms of winning duels, all of these things, because Atlanta couldn't build up the play cleanly. Why do you focus on building up the play out of the back so much? Because when you do, you can control the game in multiple phases, not just the connected passes to get out of the back line. It's about getting everybody up, organized into the attacking half, be able to counter press, and do everything you want to do. Charlotte disrupted that by playing 2 good defenders up high. They made it difficult for Atlanta to get out down the left with Gutman and get out down the right with Hernandez. I thought Hernandez really struggled with it in getting forward, being able to build up the play and get forward. Smart play. It's not what you would normally think of for, okay, I want to win this game. I'm going to bring on 2 defenders and play them as wingers. But it had an offensive effect because what it did is it took away Atlanta's advantage in controlling the play. It just made it difficult to build up play. You had more turnovers in the defensive half of the field and in the middle third, and Charlotte got more opportunities out of that. The expected goals in the second half, you take away the penalty. Now, what kind of a chance would it created from that? You don't know. If you take away the penalty, it's pretty much even. First half, Atlanta had more chances. Charlotte had better chances at the end of the half. Their expected goals was higher in that. So it was a really interesting move that Atlanta had to try to counter. Now, it took them a while. And even when you brought on Marcelino Moreno and Thiago Almada and you get the penalty, it was still difficult because you're trying to incorporate guys who haven't played a whole lot with this group. So how do you deal with that? You win your individual battles a lot on the ground because you're going to have to find the space. The space is gone by putting good defenders up high to build up the play. The space goes away. How do you create the space? A lot of times you create it on the dribble. That's why dribblers are important. And you saw what Jake Mulraney could do at the end, but you also saw it from Marcelino Moreno, just how he unbalances a team on the dribble. That's how you can start to break it. You can also do it through the combination play, and you saw some of that start to happen as it went on. That's going to take time. Chemistry and those things, it's going to take time with Almada, with Moreno, getting Araujo back into the mix, Joseph. What all of that looks like will take some time, but you saw glimpses of it here. The move that Pineda made with bringing Almada and Moreno on after Charlotte's move, it was almost immediate, not in the actual sub, but in the actual idea. Because after the change, Atlanta's technical staff all came together to figure it out. And then players went to warm up, and there was specific instruction given to Almada and Moreno at that point. So I think the idea was already there. It's like, okay, they're going to do this. Okay, how are they going to play it? Because maybe they had the same idea I did watching it from the booth. Like, all right, they're going to go to 5 in the back. When they didn't, saw the instruction, they go, I think it's all right, we're going to counter it by getting these guys on who can break this pressure and break these spaces open. So there was a lot of chess match involved in this as well. It was a really, really fun game to call. Really, really fun match in general. Great account of themselves from Charlotte. Thought Atlanta gave a good account of themselves as well. And you see the potential game changers that this team has beyond Almada, beyond Moreno, beyond Araujo. Jake Mulraney can be a problem when he needs to be. And he's somebody that Gonzalo Pineda was very happy to get back into the group. And you saw what he did in preseason in Celaya, against Celaya. You see it here. He can open a game up late. We saw it last year too. When you have that wild card to throw off the bench, that's a really, really powerful move that a lot of teams in this league don't have somebody who can do that sort of a thing. So a lot of fun to get into. Let's start with the tweets about it that did not make it to Salty Takeaways, and then we'll get into questions. John will be helming the selection of this. Are you laughing because it's difficult or what?
No, just the idea of helming the selections. That's why I was laughing.
Well, yeah. I mean, sometimes you leave people's questions out and they get very frustrated, but I'm counting on you to be able to do it. And if John leaves your question out, don't yell at him. Just ask it again because the chat can get flying pretty fast and I get long-winded sometimes and he might lose his place.
Yes.
So start with the tweets and then we'll get into the questions on the Twitch pitch.
Okay. Well, there were a couple of tweets from last night that I wanted to get in and have your perspective on to kind of lead into everything else as well. Question from Tafka.
Okay.
And he wants to know, and he says, legitimate question. Is George Campbell the second best center back on our roster? He's played better than Franco by a fair margin in his opinion for 2 straight matches. Franco's been fine, but Campbell's been fantastic. What do you think?
You could possibly say he's played better than Miles. I know that's a problem for some people, but Miles hasn't been lighting it up. All of them have made some mistakes. All of them will make some mistakes. Look, the way Atlanta United plays, those center backs are left on an island a lot of times. That was the biggest difference from what we saw from Gonzalo Pineda in 2021 versus now. He played 3 center backs last year to have 1 extra player to help cover for stuff. Because you're going to play aggressively. You're going to take chances. You're going to send those outside backs. Now you're playing with 2, sometimes against 2. You're going to ask them to be bold in possession. Campbell is maybe the boldest in possession on the dribble. He'll dribble past attackers. He doesn't care. Seems unbothered by everything. For the season, so this is going from SofaScore, and I'll tell you the differences between the 3 as we get into it. But let me pull up their numbers because they're actually pretty similar when you dig into it. Miles has the highest rating on SofaScore through the season at 7.0. So 2 games. Franco and Campbell have the same rating of 6.8. So what leads you into that? The things that I'll look for to see how effective they've been as a player in general. I'm going to look at chances created. Center backs, you're not going to have as many. Remember, Campbell played a game as a 6. He created a chance in that one. He's created a chance per game that he's played. He had a game in the midfield. Franco and Robinson haven't created any chances yet. Okay. Passing. Robinson, 84%. Franco, 86. Campbell, 87. Again, pretty similar. And again, remember, Campbell had a game in the midfield. But pretty clean. Passing in their own half. Campbell, 91%. Franco, 94%. Robinson, 92%. Okay, so then it shifts a little bit. Defensive actions. So interceptions, tackles. Robinson, 3 per game. Franco, 1.5 per game. Campbell, 1.6 per game. Okay, that's probably why Robinson has the higher rating. Maybe I'm a little harsh on Robinson because of the decision on the second yellow that I think was a bad decision and could have put the team in jeopardy here. It ultimately did not because you get the win, but it did limit some of the options. You have 3 center backs that are all playing pretty similarly. So I don't see Campbell as clearly better than Alan Franco. I don't know where the Alan Franco conversation is continuing to go. I know that Bart said that Alan Franco doesn't do anything good. That's a huge overstatement. And, Bart sometimes is prone to those, and that's fine. Alan Franco, for some reason, was heavily criticized at the very beginning of his tenure. He was the 3rd choice of the center backs that Atlanta tried to go get. I thought he played really well last year. I think he's playing well this year. I think Campbell and Robinson are playing well as well. I have the issue with the Robinson decision on a yellow, and decision-making is such a huge factor for center backs. That's probably why I'm a little bit like, maybe it's Franco and Campbell. Get back to decisions about making a lineup. This is another one that's not easy because you could go with any of them and in any combination, and I think you're fine. I think you've got whoever's left out would probably start for a lot of teams in this league. That's just the nature of building a strong roster. But I do think it's still Robinson and Franco as your regular duo. Campbell will play plenty as needed this season because there will be times when you have that option. You have a lead. You don't have to change the way you play, but you can be a little more secure by bringing a 3rd center back in. Bring Campbell in, you're fine. There's going to be games where you need to spell Robinson or Franco. Robinson coming back from international duty, coming up here because there's going to be 3 games for the U.S. That next game back would not surprise me if he sits and Campbell starts that game. So he's going to play plenty. And I think you're going to see all of them on the field a good bit. But I still think it's Robinson and Franco as your 2 center backs. There's just not a lot to separate them. Just like there's not a lot to separate the central midfielders. That's a credit to a deep roster.
And you had Santi Sosa was a part of the game day 18 yesterday, so then he's getting closer. You hope
not a center back though. That he's not going to factor into the center back.
I was just in general when it comes to roster construction.
Yeah, the roster's deep. We know that, and that. Well, I mean, it should be known. If anybody's telling you otherwise, I'm sorry, I don't know what they're talking about because you've got players who will be on the bench when you have everybody healthy and Gonzalo Pineda makes a decision, which might be different for one game versus another game. Keep that in mind too. But you're going to have players on the bench that would start probably for the opposition you're playing. That's because you've built a very deep roster. Is it perfect? No, because the salary cap league, it's almost impossible to create a perfect roster. You have to bridge the gap in a salary cap league with a homegrown that can play like a non-homegrown or play like somebody who's 5 to 10 years older. And right now you don't have that up top. And Jackson Conway hopefully will develop into that during his time playing with Atlanta United too, which I would expect would be pretty significant early on. That's the spot that you don't have that as much. But if Dom Dwyer continues to be productive, well, then maybe you are fine in that position too. It's hard. But I think Atlanta's done as well as you can possibly do in terms of building a deep roster because you've got position battle at center back. We can call it that now if you want. That's fine. Because if Robinson or Franco are not doing the job, Pineda will turn to Campbell. He'll play him. I have no problem with that. If Ronald Hernandez or Brooks Lennon's not doing the job, the other one will play at right back. If Andrew Gutman doesn't play well, Caleb Wiley will play. Yep. We've already seen that from Gonzalo Pineda. He has no problem playing him. I think he'll play him at left back. Central midfield, if Alonso doesn't play well, Sosa will play. Maybe they'll play together. If Osechu, Sejdic don't play well, when Hindman's healthy, he's going to get in there. Ibarra gives you something different. Moreno or Almada will probably play as a central midfielder. You've got options on the flank with Mulraney pushing the game. You've got Wolf, who has played well. You've got so many different options in places that you're going to see competition for spots. And I'll go back to something Miguel Angel Ramirez said yesterday after the game, talking about Adam Armour. Armour wasn't even in the game day roster for their home opener. And he said he came in the first day of training last week and made it to the point that Ramirez had to select him for the game day roster here because of the work. Now, that's a different situation. But if you have guys who are coming in to the training ground and battling because they don't want to be left out, the level raises.
Yep.
The level continues to rise. And that's what you're looking for out of having this deep roster. So that has to continue. If you're left out, better not sulk, because then you're not going to get on the field. You're left out, you better come in and fight that next day in training and try to get your way into it. And I think Pineda will reward the guys who are fitting the best. He's not going to play people just to play people.
And it doesn't matter what the date of birth is on the birth certificate.
No, he doesn't care.
Yeah, if you're out there and you're performing Monday through Friday, it doesn't matter, how young you are, how old you are. If you're performing and you're doing what is being asked and you're dialing it up, then you have to make it irresistible for the coaching staff not to select you for the roster for about 5 different negatives in a sentence. But you understand what I'm saying. If everybody's dialing everybody else up, and all of that competition makes everybody better as you're getting toward game day, and that challenge helps you out the entire season.
Yeah, 100%. What else we got on Twitter?
On Twitter, it's a two-parter. I'm going to break this one into 2 parts.
Okay.
What did you think about Guido Gonzalez's calling of the match yesterday?
In general, it was fine. Bronico should have been sent off at the beginning of stoppage time.
That was
That's the one that I think was the mistake, because advantage was played and it should have been, but Bronico had to be cautioned for his foul, attempted foul. Would have been a foul if advantage had not happened. And it's one of those that sometimes I feel like in that situation, if you call the foul, you're going to give the second yellow if there's no advantage, but you almost get double penalized if the advantage doesn't materialize and then you don't get the second yellow that you should. It doesn't matter ultimately because they win the game, but you would have had a man advantage for about 7 minutes, and that could have turned it if it had needed to. That's the biggest mistake for me. The penalty, the big decisions. I guess the one thing I would say, because look, I have no problem criticizing referees when I feel like they need to be, because they are a huge part of the game. I'm not just going to say, I don't like this referee, he bad. I'm going to try to tell you where I think the mistake is and what it is. I'm going to try to go into more detail. I am not a ref, but I do pay attention to it as closely as I can, because I think it's really important in a broadcast to understand that perspective. There's too many times that either it's the perspective that's not understood, or literally sometimes the laws of the game are not understood, and it's very misleading to the viewers, and it has to be clear. Things like last man back, but not understanding that that's not the only part of denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity, stuff like that. I thought, and the other thing too is I think we have to understand that referees are going to make mistakes. They are. Every player in a game makes mistakes. Every coach makes mistakes. Every referee is going to make mistakes. What you don't want as a referee, because they're in that realm kind of like goalkeepers and strikers, where their mistakes are magnified. You don't want a big mistake to affect the outcome. And there was nothing about that in this. The penalty, 100% correct. Had to call it. It's arm out. It's push in the back. It's an easy call. Great ball from Alan Franco over the top, by the way, on that. Charlotte wanted to argue and delay the penalty. That's what teams do. It was a little excessive. Maybe Guido Gonzalez Jr. could have shown a yellow to somebody in the pile to try to get everybody to back off. No, but John, you make a big. I saw your facial expression.
Yeah,
like it's not that simple though. So because Alan Franco of Charlotte is in his face, Alan Franco's on a yellow. Giving him a second yellow in that even though he could have gotten one, that you don't want to change the game for that. So it's not as simple as just saying, I just give a yellow. If somebody else comes up who's not on a yellow, give them the yellow, make your point.
Yes. Okay.
Because you don't want to change a game by just doing that. I would not want that. That feels cheap. Like, yes, we know that players argue. One thing I really like about Guido Gonzalez Jr. is he's not going to be a referee who, if somebody says one word to them, yellow, dissent. I don't like referees like that. I like referees that let players talk. I like referees that have the personality to be able to have conversations with players on the field. I want that. I think it diffuses a lot of situations.
I think it does too. My point, just with my facial expression, is that I think we see too many times. We see too many players trying to crowd an official and trying to emphasize a point for too long. I understand.
Two different things, though.
It's part of
it. Finish your point, but I'm talking about something different than you are right now. Keep going.
No, just my whole thing is, in general, when you see a lot of crowding around an official, and it's like, wasn't there supposed to be a concerted effort to make sure that these kinds of get-togethers were not supposed to happen to the extent that they are, to either make...
Yeah, you saw Disco gets it. They find people afterwards. That's how that happens. And what do you want the referee to do? Yellow card everybody in that situation? You can't. That's why it's a Disco thing.
Yeah.
You don't want the referee to show a yellow card to everybody who crowds them to argue about a call.
But I think you can make a point, as you were saying. I think when you get into a scrum like that, I think you can make a point to sit there and it's like, look, if somebody says a magic word, if somebody's delaying it entirely too much, then you got to sit there and you card them up.
You're lumping things together. I want to explain it what I said and be clear. The arguing about the actual call and as it was being checked by the VAR. I don't care. That does need to be fined because that is a point of emphasis for pro. And we saw fines happen last week about mass confrontation. That is different than where I would have shown the yellow. I'm not showing it for people who don't like the call and are trying to force me to talk to my VAR and all that. That's part of the game. Let Disco clean that up. Where the call had been made and Kalina is trying to delay it and Alan Franco is trying to delay it and others were trying to continue conversations. And that's when Osvaldo Alonso comes up and gets those players away from the spot and all of that. That's where I would have shown the yellow clearly for delaying the kick, not for arguing, not for confronting, not for any of that. That's what Disco has to fix and find people, and then maybe it starts to go away. But I don't want the referee just throwing yellow, 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 yellow. That's no fun. I don't want a blackjack dealer. In that moment, with the attempted delays to restart it, what I think Guido Gonzalez Jr. could have done there would have been to show a yellow to Kalina, because it's the safest yellow you can show in that, because goalkeepers very, very, very rarely get 2 yellows and get sent off. You can get away with it there. You can make a big point and be very demonstrative about showing the yellow for delaying the restart, very specifically. I can't underline that enough. Not the confrontation, the restart delay. Show it to the goalkeeper. Do the whole big, that's it, no more, everybody away. And they back off. That would have been the way to fix that for me. You can't give it to Alan Franco. You can, and I think we see bad referees do that, losing track of it. I'd rather what we saw, no yellows in that, get everybody away as quickly as you can and play, than give a second yellow for something like that. Give the yellow to the goalkeeper because that's the safe one you can throw to make your point. That's the way to do it. That's what I would have seen in that. But again, that didn't change anything. It didn't affect the game. The second yellow to Bronico that I thought was deserved could have changed the game. That was a big issue that I think should have been corrected. That should have been shown a second yellow, and he should have been sent off. That's really it, honestly. I don't know what the foul count was. I didn't really honestly think too much about the referee in this one, which is a good sign. 24 fouls. That's a little bit below his usual. In his career, he was at 26 and some change, so a little less.
16 for Charlotte, yeah.
So?
No, I'm just saying that 16 to 8 was, you said 24, so I was just...
yeah, I know, but I mean, okay. You just said that for no reason? Or are you thinking they should have had more cards because of that? Because normally that's why you would say that.
But when I just... in these situations when you have a lot of fouls, and it seemed to me that the MO
he showed 4 to Charlotte
of I'm just calling fouls, and I'm trying to build. I'm trying to build my point.
Okay.
The MO for a lot of teams going up against Atlanta United seems to be go ahead and foul and foul and foul and foul and foul until the point where, as you should, you sit there. Then the center ref starts dealing out cards. I would have thought that there were more instances to give out cards in this match than there were.
No, where were they? The only one is the second yellow for Bronico to me. 4 yellows on 16 fouls isn't egregious at all by any stretch. Titi Ortiz got one. Alan Franco got one. Daniel Rios got one. Bronico was on one. Bronico deserved another one, but 4 yellows, 16 is not bad. And by the Atlanta fouls in transition too. Let's not act like they don't. I think what's been frustrating over the years, which doesn't affect this year, at least it shouldn't, has been that Atlanta's picked up those yellows for the fouls in transition more so than other teams who do it a little bit more. That's been frustrating. Campbell got a yellow. Osvaldo Alonso got a yellow. 6 yellows in the game with 24 fouls. That's about right. I don't have a problem with it. The Bronico one's the biggest one. But no, I think the refereeing in general is fine.
And that was the second part of the question that I was going to ask, was specifically about the Bronico incident.
He missed it, in my opinion. I mean, if there's no advantage played, I think it's a second yellow. The advantage being played shouldn't take away the second yellow. And I thought it was going to come back and get a yellow. I was surprised that it didn't. I get it. You don't want to send people off and change the game that way. But in this case, I thought that one was egregious enough that you couldn't ignore it. So that's the one that I would mark off if I'm assessing it. Because it was clearly a foul and it was demonstrated as a foul by playing advantage. That has to be a yellow card foul. So that's it. If that's the biggest mistake and it doesn't affect anything, you have your conversation about it this week, and hopefully you don't see that from the referee next time. But no, the referee wasn't a problem in this game. I don't think there was any effect from the referee.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, it's the top of the hour, sir.
Okay. That means I guess you want to do something, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. We'll strike up the band and get you ready to talk about our good friends over at Eliminize here in just a second, as the band is a little slow to get started this morning.
It's a Monday, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. If you haven't had a chance, first off, thanks to everybody up at Johnson High School in Gainesville for having us for our high school game of the week. 5-4, Johnson beat Dalton, and it was not like a sloppy game with a lot of goals. It was a really good game. If you get a chance to watch these two teams at any point the rest of the way, go check them out because they're both really, really talented. But it was a lot of fun, a lot of yelling, a lot of craziness. Definitely two teams that I hope to see again this year. And just a really fun night in Gainesville. The great crowd, too. A lot of Dalton folks came for it as well. Highlight of the season right there, the Johnson and Dalton match. John clipped a highlight package, so you can go listen to that if you don't want to listen to the whole game back, but the whole game's up too if you want to listen to that. All right, tell us about Eliminize, John.
I can certainly do that. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Roto-free, clean, fresh air. One place that you need to go. Eliminize Service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their facilities that much faster. It's a turnkey process that makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers, kind to the environment, offering a very green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue. Different than Febreze or any other masking agent that we have underneath the sink, because that masking agent, all it does is it distracts you from the odor. It does not attack the issue itself. Eliminize can do that by destroying odor down to the molecule with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy. One of two ways, either by cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, go to their website, eliminize.com. But do us a favor. Use /Atlanta after the .com so they know what part of the world that you are contacting them from. If they were contacting you, it'd be an entirely different issue. So ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta For odor-free, clean, fresh air, Lemonizer is proud sponsors of everything SDH.
All righty. I want to get into one more thing before we finish up. Is there anything more from Twitter, or are we going fully to Twitch pitch?
Twitch pitch from now on.
Okay. So start firing off your questions. Friend of the show, Katie Weaver, and co-host of Soccer Over There, Nick Alifi, were tweeting about this. Soccer Over There back tonight, 7 o'clock. Lots of things to talk about there. But they were talking specifically about fans from Charlotte throwing things down from the 200 level at fans from Atlanta after the second goal. I will also point out, because I watched it happen right in front of me, that there were things thrown at Charlotte fans in the lower level from the second level after Charlotte's goal. I saw it come flying. We're right there above that. Stop throwing things at games, period. Just don't do it. It's stupid. Beer showers in the supporter section, whole different thing. You know what you're signing up for. That's a different thing. Start throwing things on the field, get out. Start throwing things at other fans, get out. Just get out. Just stop. There's no reason to do it, no matter which shirt you're wearing and who you're throwing it at. There's no excuse for that stupidity. Tired of this stuff. It just because you're at it in public, maybe for the first time in a while, doesn't mean you get to act like an idiot. Stop throwing things, please, across the board, because Atlanta fans have done it over the years too. I saw something chucked after Charlotte's goal, and there were Charlotte fans in the 100 level, saw the blue shirts, that it was maybe they had good aim, maybe they had bad aim. I don't know. Maybe they were celebrating throwing it. That wouldn't really make any sense. Just stop all the way around. Don't throw things at people at sporting events. Should be really something you have to keep reminding people of, but please don't. And if you see people do it, hit your security button. Do your thing. Like it's got to be cleaned up, because when that is allowed to continue, it's just, that's just part of going to a game. Well, then the next thing is somebody gets something thrown at them and they don't like it and they turn around and punch somebody, and then you get fights, and then you get all kinds of other things. So no, just stop. It's absurd. I didn't see the other one. I was also too busy yelling and going nuts in the press box, so I didn't see that part, or in the broadcast booth. Different from the press box. You don't go nuts in the press box. I was going nuts in the broadcast booth. It's allowed. So I didn't notice it after the second one. I did notice it after the Charlotte goal. It doesn't matter where it happens and who does it in any of it. Just stop. Just stop across the board. Don't go to Charlotte and throw things at Charlotte fans because they threw things at Atlanta fans. Just don't do it. It's stupid. Anyway, Twitch pitch, which we got.
A lot of folks early on in the discussion wanted the breakdown of the Gutman goal and why that ended up not being called a goal.
Okay, don't go all the way back. Let's try to stay current, because you're going to go back to stuff that maybe people have already talked about. Like, come all the way up. If you have questions, enter them into the Twitch pitch now.
There you go.
So scroll all the way up, John.
I have.
Okay, just making sure. It's a tight call. It's something that happens on a lot of corners. Watching the replay, I thought Osvaldo Alonso threw a pick, trying to throw off a defender who's tracking Gutman to try to open up space. A lot of teams do it. A lot of teams get away with it. This time it was spotted. I think it was partially spotted because Joseph was bumped or fell into a Charlotte defender. That looked more egregious. Maybe that's what the actual call was. But seeing the replay, Alonso is trying to pick off a defender running, and it's a foul. I mean, it should be a foul anytime. I'd like to see that called more consistently. If it's going to be called, it needs to be called because it's a foul. But this time it gets spotted. Wasn't, he didn't punch anybody. He didn't throw a clothesline. It wasn't this hugely egregious thing, but it was spotted, and it technically is a foul. So, there wasn't a ton of arguing about it either from the players. I get it. I don't like it. I don't love it, because I would have loved to have seen that goal go in. And I think if you get that early goal, then we're having different conversations. But it's a pick, and I think that's what got the call.
Sean Vergara wants to know, if the game ended in a draw, what would have been the discussion points? He says, I thought we were poor in spots early on.
I think, Sean, and it's the way that you put this. I'm not picking on you, but I've seen this conversation across the board. Give credit to Charlotte because they were good. You're not playing a team of nothing. So it's not always Atlanta was poor and the opponent didn't exist. think Charlotte made it difficult for Atlanta to be good at times. The discussion points, I think, are the same that they were against Colorado. You created 10 chances, 2 less than you did against Colorado. Credit to Charlotte defensively. I thought they did well to try to prevent that, especially as the day went on. But you had a lot of chances before the 40th minute, 35th, wherever it started to turn, and you didn't convert. And that's converting chances are the biggest thing in this game. Period. For the way Atlanta's going to play, they're not going to be a defensive team and sit back. So it's not about creating chances. It's about hitting on the counter and preventing chances. That's Atlanta wants to create chances. 10 is a little lower than I would like. They didn't create as many big chances as they need to, and that's something that Gonzalo Pineda is working towards, creating better and better chances. But ultimately, you don't convert where you had control of the game, and that allowed Charlotte to get a couple of chances late in the half that were well handled by Kazan. I mean, a lot of love for Kalina in this game. Brad made some big saves too. Have to give him some credit here. But it's not always Atlanta was poor. Sometimes the opponent's good. And in this case, Charlotte was better than they've been by far. By far, because you didn't get as many opportunities as the LA Galaxy did last week. That's a 1-0 game that had a different feel. This one was more even in a 1-goal game. So you have to convert your chances. But we're still dealing with a team that's incomplete. You got to get Almada. You got to get Araujo. You got to get Moreno all up to speed. Then we'll have a better sense of how they're going to be at creating chances and converting chances. But ultimately in this one, if it finished 1-1, for me, it would have been you didn't get a goal out of complete control in the first 40 minutes, and Charlotte was able to grow into the game and make changes to affect it.
Michael Head wants to know, and it has to do with corner defending. He wants to know where Atlanta United ranks on corner defending over the last 3 or so seasons.
No idea. I don't have a number.
Yeah. It's just because of the focus that we talked about in the first hour when it comes to set pieces, and he thought that it seems really bad. Corner defending was what Michael says.
Well, they've conceded 2 goals off of corners this year. They've conceded goals off of corners over the years, as a lot of teams have. But in this case, yes, it has to be better. And I think ultimately it's down to the individuals that are involved here, because I don't think you're giving them a system that makes it hard for them to do their job, because you've seen them shift. You've seen them mark man-to-man consistently on set pieces. You've seen them mark zonally. When neither one's working, it's not about system. I mean, there's a couple things that factor into it. You're not building a team that is strong in the air. That's not what Atlanta United is trying to do. You're staring really hard. Are you okay over there? Do you need glasses, John?
No, I'm trying. No, I have glasses, and I'm just trying to dial something up real quick.
Okay, I was just checking. You were staring intently. I didn't know what was going on.
I'm staring intensely and intently, trying to dig something up.
Okay. Atlanta's a team that's not built with a lot of guys who are great in aerial duels. That's number one. So corners are going to be difficult in that. You're signing ball players, not headers. So that's part of it. 2, you have to perform in the moment. And in this case, what I could see from it is Charlotte creates a bit of a stack. Armour's in the middle. Corujo was behind him. I think that's why the TV call thought it was Corujo who headed it home, because that's who you would think. He's very good in the air. And Armour was kind of in between him and I think it was Fuchs in front of him. So that's hard to defend in general, especially when it finds the middle man. You don't normally expect that. But Hernandez was there. He went to Fuchs. He went to the first guy. And there wasn't anybody on the middle guy. I think there was somebody behind Corujo, but they're not in a great position either. So if it's zone and they're flooding the zone, somebody else has to pick that up, because you have free guys there who have to go win it. Maybe that's on Campbell. Maybe that was his instruction there. I don't know the instructions on all of the set pieces and defending and how they do it. There's different ones. There's different situations for it. Sometimes with a zone, you have guys that are assigned to zones, and then you have free guys who are supposed to go up and win things. If Campbell's supposed to step there and go to win that, then he was late to do it. If Hernandez is supposed to hold his ground and not chase somebody further to the near post, then it's on Hernandez. Ultimately, it's on the individuals because you're not winning the aerial duels. And you're not going to go sign guys to be better on corner kicks. Let's make that clear. That's part of the trade-off in the way that Atlanta United's going to play. You don't want to. I shouldn't speak for everybody. I don't want to see Atlanta United prioritize signing guys who are good on corner kicks. I want to see them sign guys who are good soccer players. And ultimately, at times, when you focus on good soccer players in this system who are good on the ball, you can prioritize guys who are a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter, not guys who go up and win aerial duels all the time. So you're going to struggle on corner kicks a little bit. So other guys have to pick up that slack. And that's, I don't think it's a system thing at all, but you're getting to a point where it's okay. One, avoid the situations as much as you can. That should be part of this. But two, maybe it's just going to be creating the best situation for what you have. If that is Campbell and Franco and Robinson, whoever's on the field out of that group, they're free and they can go win it. One's in the front, one's in the back. And you've got the other guys in as kind of zonal guys. And you've got some guys who are going to be trying to block runs to certain parts. And, you've got guys who have to do their jobs in that situation. But maybe it's creating a system that your free guys are your best guys in the air and you're just telling them to go win it. There's risk in that too. But you don't have a team of 6'4" guys who are going to be good on corners. You're not going to have that team. So you do have to live with it to a degree. And right now you're giving up some goals off of it. This one was one that you didn't want to give up. It was an awful time to give it up. Credit to Charlotte for getting a goal, period. And they get this one from a set piece, but you've got to find something to get the best out of what you have on these corners. But ultimately it comes down to the individuals for me. You're just not winning your aerial duels. Some guys are not going to be prone to winning those, but there's some guys who maybe it's given them a different opportunity to go win it. Maybe they just have to be more aggressive in those situations. I don't know. It's not going to be easy to deal with because of the roster you have that is built to play and not defend corners.
Katie Weaver on Brooks Lennon thought that here we go. I thought Lennon was very good. Overloads in the first half with Lennon going to the left and interacting with Gutman or just mixing up positioning. She thought it was very, very good yesterday.
Well, a lot of the switching, there were different points. I talked about it on the radio broadcast in the first half. You had a couple of throws that took a while that were deep, and one of them, Joseph Martinez, came over and talked to Gonzalo Pineda, and then Lennon went over to the left, and Wolf came over to the right, like right after that. And it looked like the way Joseph, his hand movement was kind of asking to switch. Then sometimes it happened just in the run of play. Sometimes it happened because Lennon went to that side to deliver a corner, so he stayed on that side. Wolf came over to the right. The interchangeability of that group was really big because it kept Fuchs and Lindsay on their heels at times. I thought consistently running at Fuchs in the first half set that up for Mulraney to beat him late. I thought that was big. Fuchs struggled. He really struggled in this game. I think he showed his age at times. I mean, you saw the bad giveaway in the first half where he just gives it to Joseph. You saw a couple of really tired kind of touches. I was surprised they didn't go because when those changes came in at halftime, I thought it was to protect Fuchs. I thought they were going to go to 3 center backs. I was a little surprised they didn't, and ultimately that's one that Ramirez might want back. Maybe he had another option to do that. He didn't. Anton Walks was on the bench, but I don't think Anton Walks was really able to play. He hasn't played for them in a long time after hamstring injury. I don't know how far along he was. I think he just returned to training. So could he have given you 5 minutes or so at the very end? Maybe. I don't know. I have questions why we haven't seen Jan Soboszinski at all. Young Polish defender who was signed with some fanfare and he hasn't played. I know there's a little bit of a lack of pace there, but maybe that wouldn't have got any better than Fuchs, who was tired at that point. Lennon played much better in this game on the wing than he did in Colorado. 5 chances created, 5 completed crosses. Yes, he had 14 crosses, but 5 completed crosses. And I didn't think Atlanta was over crossing, for example. I think at times in the past, you've seen them when they can't break down an opponent, they just resort to pumping in crosses. I didn't get that sense here. I thought the crosses were well worked and created. I didn't think there was any frustration about breaking Charlotte down. When they start over crossing, for me, it's because of that, because you're not able to play through the middle. Charlotte didn't pack the middle. Charlotte just set up a team to play and defend up high as the day went on. I don't think they were overdoing crosses. He was 5 of 14, and people will say that's a bad percentage, but that's actually pretty typical. 30 to 35% is kind of the range you're looking for on completed crosses. To complete 5, to create 5 chances, 81% on his passes overall. Brooks was really good. He was able to drop and defend. He gave you the ability to pull Hernandez and drop Lennon to right back. I thought Ronald struggled a little bit in this one. Bender gave him some problems in the first half. Ronald's been very good in preseason and good this season so far. This was his weakest performance. It happens. Does that mean Lennon gets the start next week? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe Ronald bounces back with a big week in training, but you got competition. That's a good thing because Lennon won't be playing on the wing when everybody's healthy. Araujo will play that spot. You've got a lot of different options. It won't be Lennon as a first choice. I thought he did a good job here, and not so much creating overloads when he went over to the left because it's the same principle, but Lennon gives you a different player wide than Wolf, than Almada, than Moreno, who all want to come in. On the left, Lennon will do that because he's coming to his right foot. On the right side, he is kind of an old school classic winger in stretching the field wide, looking to get in his crosses, which you know who he is and what he is. You're not going to have him do something that he's not as good at to be something else. But you use that for other things. You have Hernandez make an underlapping run. You have Osechu or SDH or Alonso fill that space centrally where Lennon is stretching the left back further wide. So there's things you can do to play off of that. And that's what Lennon gives you. He was very good here. Very, very good. Best performance of the year so far.
Mortal Man wants a match day rating on Paulo Neto. I say 11 billion.
All the billions.
When you win a trophy, you get $1 billion for your match day rating.
All the billions. Really cool stuff to win the EMLS Cup, another trophy for Atlanta United. Good stuff for Paulo. He's been close a few times. So to get the trophy at the end, really cool.
Bart has a question. He says he thinks Miguel Angel Ramirez recognized his team might not be able to play the style of soccer that he wants to play yet, and knew he could frustrate Atlanta by being more defensive and disrupting our buildup, so he focused on those aspects of the match. How do you see this match playing out when both teams are close to the best versions of themselves?
I'll disagree with you, Bart, because I think, and look, we all do this at times when we think about a manager who is a positional play, possession-oriented guy. We're thinking attack. We think all they want to do is attack. We do it to Pep. And Pep's a positional play guy, and Ramirez has been influenced by Pep. Pineda has been influenced by Pep. There's a lot of positional play elements with what Atlanta United does too, by the way. You just have different personnel. I don't think he really got away from what he wanted to do, to be honest, because a big part of what you want to do in a positional play system and a possession-based system in this way, and we've talked about it from Atlanta's perspective, is that disruption in disrupting the way the other team builds the play. Charlotte had to maybe double down on that a little bit because that was all they had. I don't think they got away from what they wanted to do because when they got the ball, they didn't just, try to bomb it forward. They didn't just, win the ball in the attacking half and just go to goal as fast as possible. It wasn't going to like a Red Bull style or a Philadelphia style or a long ball style because you couldn't do what you wanted to do. It was just maybe accentuating a different aspect of what you want to do. And really it's all he had. You look at the bench, leave Armour and Awful out of it. You needed to pull Gaines. I thought Gaines defensively was a liability. He's a forward and he's playing on the wing. He was effective at times in the attack, though. He created a chance. Only had 3 passes, though. So, he didn't do a lot. One of those was a cross that created a chance. It was a well-worked situation from him. but he did nothing defensively for you. And as we were talking about on the radio call, Atlanta was trying to exploit not just Fuchs, but Lindsey when he would go forward. It was try to get out down the wings. That was why in the full-time report I mentioned the Salida La Volpiana. Look it up if you haven't heard of that. We've talked about it on the show before. We talked about it a lot with Gabriel Heinze because it was a huge point of emphasis for him in the way that he wanted his team to build up play. To boil it down very, very quickly, it's to get out down the flanks, to build up the play, to escape down the flanks. The exit is down the flanks. So Atlanta was doing that really well in the first half. Charlotte took that away by the subs they made at halftime, but not in changing the way that they play. It just accentuated something. Gaines was getting beat. Awful, better defender. Ortiz, Bender wasn't working defensively on that side. Okay, pull Ortiz, move Bender central, and then on the left side, have Adam Armour, who I thought was great coming off the bench, not just because he got a goal. I thought he was really, really good. A lot better than Joseph Mora, who had started the first two games for them. And if you go back to that kind of a shape, if you do want to protect Fuchs as the season goes on, I think it's going to be Armour who gets the minutes, not Mora. But you did that, and it took away something from Atlanta and allowed Charlotte to play more. So I don't think they got away from what they wanted to do. They just had to approach it differently. And that's what a good manager does. And that's what these kinds of managers, because positional play is like a toolbox. It gives you different solutions to the problems you're having. And ultimately, your goal is to create numerical superiority in parts of the field. As we talked about with Heinze, it's not always numerical superiority, but it's superiority. And it could be qualitative in some cases. And look, that's what Pep did with Messi at Barcelona. It's okay. We want to do this. We want to create overloads. We want to create 2v1s. Oh, it's Messi against anybody. Give the ball to Messi. Cool. That's what we want to do because he's got more quality than anybody. Are there other matchups we want to exploit? Absolutely. Atlanta can look at that at times of, okay, we want to isolate Araujo against their left back. And I think that's something Gonzalo Pineda will absolutely try to do as the season goes on. Other times it might be, okay, we want to create a 2v1 here with Gutman playing high and Almada on the left. Or maybe you like Almada versus the right back. Cool. You want to exploit that. For Charlotte, you don't really have the qualitative superiority part, so you have to create the numerical. And they did that at times with those fullbacks playing wingers because it allowed them from a defensive standpoint to have numerical superiority, win the battles, and then you've got the offensive numerical superiority because you just turned the ball over and you got the 2v1. And Awful can play even though he's a fullback. Armour can play even though he's a fullback. They've got technical skills to be able to give you that side and not have a drop off. So I think he just had to approach it differently, but I don't think he changed the way that he wanted. How do these games play out in general? They're going to be fun because you've got two great managers. You've got two teams that want to play. I don't think you'll see either one get negative defensive bunker, just make the game choppy and blech. You're not going to get that with these two teams. So I'm ecstatic about that. And hopefully what Ramirez is doing will be a hallmark of the way that Charlotte tries to build their club. I have concerns about that because of the way they built their club so far, that if he was to leave, I don't know who they hire because they might just go in a completely different direction because it's felt slapdash. But if you have two teams that want to play, generally you're going to get these kind of games. Sometimes they cancel each other out, and you get some moments like we saw here where it's, okay, we want to build up out of the back because that's what we do. All right, the other team's taking that away. That's really difficult. Okay, it becomes a little bit of a back and forth because of that, and it kind of grinds down for a minute. But then you're going to get those waves. Atlanta had it for a long time early. Charlotte had it late in the first half and then early in the second. Then Atlanta kind of got it back with the inclusion of Almada and Moreno. Then you get punched in the mouth on the set piece. And then Atlanta had it as the day went on. At the very end, I think Charlotte tried to slow the game down and get out of there with the 1-1 and all that. But they didn't change tactically to do that. It's just, we're going to walk on our throws. We're going to take as much time as possible, that kind of stuff, which they're on the road. 1-1, man, would have been the first point? Yeah, they would have been ecstatic with it. So long-winded answer, but I'm looking forward to these matchups because I think you'll get a lot of good soccer out of it and really two good coaches that are fun to watch what they do.
Before we duck back into Atlanta United stuff, Ryan Walker went outside and wants to know the percentage chance that Comunicaciones can complete the comeback on NYCFC.
Well, they've won 3 in a row in the Guatemalan League. They're in a really good run of form right now. NYC did play a fairly first-choice group on the weekend. Maybe that's a little bit of overconfidence. We'll see. I mean, let's look at what they did on the weekend just a little bit in terms of lineup and minutes and such. Tati Castellanos played 90. Maxi Morales did not. He played what did he play? He came off. Played 82. That's a lot more than I would have had Maxi Morales play at where he is in his career. Backline should be okay at this stage. Keaton Park started. I don't think he will in the game in Guatemala. Went 65. It's really down to if NYC gets an early goal, it's curtains. It's absolute curtains. If Comunicaciones gets the first goal, then it's 3-2, and they have the away goal, so all they need is one more. That gets really tricky. Ronnie Dyla showed that his team could go and get results last season in the postseason. Remember, they were the 4 seed coming in. They went and won MLS Cup on the road. They did face a depleted Philadelphia, but they did go and do that in their building. They went to New England and won. So they've shown an ability to do it. I'm a little surprised at how first choice they went on the weekend. We'll see. Percentage chance, I'll give it 20, 25, because I think NYC is a much better team and they've got a 2-goal lead. But that away goal that Comunicaciones got does give them a sizable lifeline that if they get the first, then they're only 1 goal away. 3-3, they go through. So I'll give it 20 to 25%.
Amelia with a Brad Gazan question.
Okay.
He says, was there anything in the play of the outfield players that caused Gazan to seem to have a difficult time with distribution, or am I misreading it?
Let's look at Brad's numbers on that from this match. He had 5 incomplete passes, 87%, which is higher than he's had all season. 4 of the 5 incomplete passes were long balls. So, Emilio, I think maybe you're misreading it because his distribution was better than it's been in this game than it was last year. That's been really in his career. I thought last year was really good for him. This was about as good as I remember. I don't remember any glaring issues with distribution, honestly. And I don't think the numbers are incorrect. 34 of 39 on his passes. That's with his feet. 5 of 9 on long balls. So 4 of the 5 incomplete are long, which long passes from a goalkeeper typically 50 to 60% is your ballpark. So, okay, that's not crazy. Let me see if the numbers are up on a different source that has, I think, the throws, and that could be part of what you're thinking. I don't remember any issues with that, but let's see if it's up here. It's not something I dig as deep into, and I probably should. Launched 5 of 9. Yeah, the throws is where. No, he only threw 8. Never mind. So no, that's not it. I don't know, Emilio. I'm honestly not sure. I mean, the passing percentage is better than usual. The long ball percentage is about normal. Geez, I don't know why FBref and SofaScore have different stats. They're coming from the same place. Football Reference has him at 42 of 46 passes, 91.3%. They have 5 of 9 on the long ball. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, pretty good. So I'm not sure. I don't know, Emilio. In general, to take this maybe to just a general conversation about his distribution and what you're looking for, if the movement's not there, yeah, it's hard for him, and you have to resort to the longer ball. And one place that you're constantly looking for, and I think everybody's used to it by now, if you don't have the short ball to build up through the back, which they had a lot because that's what both teams do. You're looking to dump that diagonal into the corner near midfield. You're trying to play that there and hit a fullback who's pushed up high or a winger who's dropped back if your back line is altogether deep. That's a tough ball at times. That's your outlet, basically. If you don't have anything else, that's the one that you play because it's a low risk of if you turn it over there, you're probably overhitting it and putting it into the stands, so you're not hurt. It's a throw at midfield. You're fine. If you underhit it severely, there's a risk, but I think Brad's maybe done that once or twice in his Atlanta career. That's something that has been there from day one. If that's not there, if people don't move to that spot, it takes that away, and then he just has to bomb it long and concede possession. But I don't remember any of that in this one.
Jason Nix is going off the board, Atlanta-wise.
Okay.
And he wants to know, having to do with the reports, and once again, these are just reports. You haven't seen any of the big tier ones.
Oh, yeah. Hold on a second. I know what you're talking about. And yeah, you can like super bold and underline reports because it's coming from somebody with 40 followers on Twitter and it's an anonymous person. So please check your sources on this stuff. Anyway, please proceed.
Well, no, he was just in that vein with the reports of Matt Turner's injury to his kicking foot being caused by frostbite. How big?
Hold on. Stop there for a second.
Yep.
The report is coming from somebody with 40 followers and an anonymous account on Twitter who has never broken news before. So I don't know what marks you put around reports there to start the sentence.
Yeah.
It's worse than air quotes, italics, underline, writing in a different font, getting crayon out. I don't know. When you're basing a thought on that, be careful. So there are no credible reports of this, first off. There has been no conversation about this. I know the black helicopter's out for people who are anonymous and hate MLS and love the U.S. men's national team. Or honestly, I don't think they love the U.S. men's national team. They just hate life in general and make it a very toxic environment to talk about the U.S. men's national team if you follow MLS on social media. But in those circles, there are reports. There are people tweeting about things that have not been proven. So from that, and you have to keep that in mind. And Nix, I'm not picking on you, but you have to start with that because this is not coming from Stephen Goff or Jeffrey Carlisle or a New England beat writer or a New England reputable blog or podcast person or anything that you can put stock in yet. Doesn't mean that it's a lie. It's that it is being said and there is no proof. So now go to the question with that in mind because you just can't separate it.
How high a pike do we place the person on who decided to have the match there?
If it's true, you put a very high section on blaming whoever came up with the idea to play the match there. I think you should anyway, because it wasn't safe to do. Multiple players had like issues with it. Swollen extremities. Obviously, we know what the opponents dealt with in it too. You had ears that looked weird and all this different stuff. I mean, none of that's good. So there should be blame on the person regardless of this. The injury doesn't change it, especially since we don't have any clue what the injury was caused by. If it comes out that is part of it, it shouldn't change the blame. The blame should have been there anyway. And we were very clear, and nothing has changed in my mind about that was the dumbest idea you could possibly have to do it. If Berhalter drove it, it was stupid. If somebody else in the Federation drove it, it was stupid. Whoever went along with it, it was stupid. But no, nothing changes because of an anonymous report about something that has not been proven. And you have to separate that. I'm sorry. In this world, in this podcast, in this show, I am not giving life to people who make up anonymous accounts on Twitter and say all kinds of things and just throw ish out there to try to get some clout. There's way too much of that garbage on Twitter. And the reason why it continues is people give it air. And Nix, I know that I'm with you. I think it was a horrible decision. But looking for these reasons to justify it, you don't need them. You don't need them. If this comes out and it's proven, it's awful. But it doesn't change the fact that it was an awful decision to begin with. It's all bad. But please, I beg of you out there, because you want to know why Twitter's a toxic place? Because people can make an anonymous accounts and make up lies and say them about people and spread them, and people buy into it. Why is, media respected differently? Because they have ethics to hold on to, and they have standards that they try to meet, and they put their name on it. You don't want to put your real name on something? I'm not going to buy it. In general, like, yes, the anonymous survey of sporting directors that the Athletic did is a very different conversation. That happens a lot too, but that's a very different situation. Using anonymous sources, if that's all that's there, I'm going to take a little bit lower stock. Anonymous Twitter accounts, get out of here with that nonsense. Especially anonymous Twitter accounts with no pictures on it, who want to make up lies about people or make up lies about situations in general and spew nastiness and awful things about people. Yeah, I don't have any time for it. And don't give air to it. And if you want to, don't bring it here. Again, Nix, this is nothing personal about it, but I saw that account, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Who started this? Who said this? Oh, okay. That's like somebody spray painting something on a wall somewhere. I don't put a lot of stock in it. So let's be careful about giving that stuff air, because I hate Twitter on a U.S. men's national team game day. Getting to where I hate Twitter in general about any game day. But I especially despise people who want to use it as a way to get clout in an anonymous way and make up lies about people because they don't want to put their name to stuff. And yep, there's a lot of it. It's not just the USMNT thing. And that's why I don't spend as much time on Twitter these days. So anyway, good times. Sorry, Nix. Again, it's nothing personal, but no, for me, nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. It was a horrible decision from the jump. And if Turner's out because of it, well, we all talked about the risk for injury coming in. So again, nothing's changed. It doesn't change it. Whoever came up with the idea, it shouldn't happen again, and it shouldn't happen in the first place. And it was too much to put players through on both teams, and it wasn't necessary to get the result that happened. You could have actually just beaten the team you're better than, period. Sorry, there's my rant on anonymous Twitter today. Mark it off the bingo card.
It is. What's the abridged version of your Petey Pablo story?
That's not that crazy. I used to DJ. I've talked about this when I lived in Athens and went to UGA and was DJ'd at a couple of different places in Athens in the hip hop R&B world. And one of the spots I DJ'd at, the Apollo, we started the Apollo, and the Spot was next door to it. The Spot was the bigger place because we had PD at the Spot. I found Raise Up. God, I found it on a mixtape. It wasn't DJ Jelly, but it was somebody. There's another DJ like Jelly who would break new artists, and I found it on a mixtape and just loved the freaking song and started playing it well before his album came out in the club. And with stuff like that, you kind of have a little bit of a formula with the way that you structure a set. I mean, I was not a scratching DJ or anything like that. It was a lot more of like a jukebox style, early digital DJ. So I had a lot of limitations on it. It's more of creating the set list. And I would use it early in the night before things really got going because it was a new song. People didn't know it. But you would see people start to react to it. So it just kept building and building and building. Then the video came out. And the video was a big deal at the time. And we booked him to come to the Spot, tracked him down, got his information, booked him. He only had the one song out. He didn't have the album out. The album came out a good bit later. But he came and he did the song kind of early in the night, did it again later. We took good care of him. He made sure that he was appreciated. Well refreshed. well, that could have went a lot of different directions. John, please watch yourself. He was well refreshed with liquid beverages as the night went on, and came back up late in the night, did the song again, and he was great. Really cool dude to deal with. It was right as he was starting to get a lot of attention. Everybody loved him. He was a lot of fun on stage. I mean, it's not this massive live performance. We played the instrumental and he rapped over it. But after the second one, he wanted to do something else. He didn't have any other songs out. I didn't have anything else out from him out. But Bubba Sparks had just come out. He was buddies with Bubba. And he wanted to play Ugly, which was Bubba's first single, big single. And he did like the hype man parts. And there were a bunch of us. I wasn't the only one, but there were a bunch of us at the little DJ area on the stage who were on mics, like doing the verses, because we had blown that song out the door in Athens because, I mean, he was an Athens guy, Bubba. So we were all like going over the verses. We're playing the track. So it's Bubba on it. That's playing. We're rapping over Bubba. And then Petey's doing the hype man parts on stage. So it was pretty cool. It was really cool. But Petey just turned around after doing Raise Up, and he's like, I want to do something else. Do you have Ugly by Bubba? I'm like, yeah, I got it. We'll play it. Cool. So we all had fun with it. It was cool. Petey's a good dude.
Yeah, Ricky Ricardo says if they don't play that song, that they're doing it incorrectly.
They are. That should be just massive for them. And sorry if South Carolina gets upset about it, but I don't think they will. Come on, everybody loves Raise Up.
Mortal Man says, is it possible that Atlanta United is relying on homegrowns too much, feeling like we're going to walk into Yankee Stadium, lose 4 or 5-0?
Mortal, like, I don't understand this. And we do this in Atlanta too much. We do it about all the sports. It's not even just an Atlanta United thing. But you've had to rely on the homegrowns early on, and it's been celebrated. But now it turns so fast. And look, we've done this about every big player in this town, where this is great. We love this guy. No, now we don't. And you're not relying on homegrowns to rely on homegrowns right now. You're relying on homegrowns. Tyler Wolff is playing because Almada just joined the team. Campbell's playing because he's the third best center back. I don't care if he's homegrown or not. That's it. Caleb Wiley has played off the bench, and he's done well in his moments, so it doesn't really matter if he's a homegrown or not. Wolf has done well, so honestly, I don't really care if he's a homegrown, but he's playing because he's had to. So I don't think it matters that they're homegrowns. I think it's just these guys have earned the spot out of who's available, and they've done pretty well with it, and I don't have any fears about them going to Yankee Stadium and doing well. No, play the kids when they're ready to play, but don't play them because they're kids, if that makes sense. Like, play them because they're the best options you have. And sometimes they will be. And hopefully they continue to push to be the best options you have, period. I think Campbell will. Campbell's a starter for this team at some point. Right now, Robinson and Franco slightly ahead of him. But that's it. Am I missing anybody else? There's not any other homegrowns that played yesterday. Wiley's factored into things. But, I mean, it was 2 games ago that we were talking about how the homegrowns had a huge factor in winning the game. So, no, there's no relying on the homegrowns too much. It's just the nature of what's available right now. And the guys are performing. I don't have any problems with them. Wolf, Campbell, Wiley didn't cause you to lose in Colorado, and they have helped you win games at home. So I'll take it.
Shiva wants to know, with so many chances created and shots on goal, why can't we score more goals? Is it simply just getting more out of our attack on the field, Aruju, Almada, and Moreno? Welcome to
the craziness of soccer. If there was an answer to why can't we score more goals, I could probably run the world, because I would be hired by every team in the world. There's just not. It's hard. It's just hard to do. It's why it's not a high-scoring game. They're creating chances well. These last 2 games, the quality of the chance is not as good as the first game, so you need to create better chances. I think you will when you get the team that you built with Almada, with Moreno, with Araujo all together, because I think you'll create more chances inside the 18 through combination play, and it'll be so much harder for defenses to deal with all of that talent. But right now, you're creating enough chances to win. You've won 2 of 3. I don't know where the negativity is about Atlanta United right now. You've won both of your home games. You lost on the road. That game was winnable. We talked through it a ton last week. There's really nothing else to rehash from that. You've created a good number of chances in every game. You're fine. you're fine. And you're not complete by any stretch because Almada's played 35 minutes. Moreno hasn't started a game yet. Araujo played 20 minutes. So you're 100% fine. It is way too early to be drawing conclusions, but the answer to why can't we score more goals, there really isn't one because it's just not that simple. There's just, if you're not creating the chances, then that's the easy thing to point to, but you're creating the chances, you just have to convert. And if everybody converted on every chance, games would be 10-8. They're not worldwide because it's hard. There just really isn't a better answer for you.
Michael Head wants to know if there are, and I want to get the phrasing properly, so I have to scroll back up since the scroll has a mind of its own.
I don't think it does. I think that's user error, John.
Well, it probably is. Is there a concern over Ozzy Alonso's reported enlarged heart? I'm not a medical expert, but I do not think I want one of those.
If there was, he wouldn't play. I think what Ozzy said afterwards is this is not new. It's something that they consistently check. He's also 36. So, I mean, it's something that will be, checked for the rest of his career. I don't know when that started would maybe be the question. If it's been something that just he's always dealt with since he's been as a professional, then it's definitely not something to worry about. But they saw something last week or at some point in all of this that they said, hey, let's get a few more tests, make sure everything's good here. So it sounds like it's very well, in control and being handled, and they're going to continue to monitor it. So if there was an issue, he wouldn't have played here is where I would put it, because they're not going to risk that. He's not going to risk that. The fact that he played should give you good faith that there's not an issue or not a concern.
Emilio, any comments about the size of NYCFC's championship banner?
If I could find it. Look, it's not their stadium. I get it. People have compared it to the size of the pennants that are up for Yankees games. I think that's maybe trying a little hard. I don't know that pennants are different than World Series wins too, which this would be the equivalent of. And they've got so many of them that I think it would change a little bit of the sizing of it. I don't think it can stay up during Yankees games. I don't think that's part of their lease agreement, so that would factor into this as well. I probably wouldn't have even done it that way at all. I would have done a flag that I would have been able to put up and take down for NYC games. That's probably the way I would have spun this, because this just created a very silly meme. And it looks bad. It looks bad. It's goofy, but I don't know all the lease terms with it. So I would have done a flag. That's the way I would have played it. Is I would have done a flag that could have been as big as you want and take it down after every game and you're good to go.
Yeah. And I think it was zip tied too. So that I think tells you.
Well, because it's not permanent.
The level of permanence that's attached.
What we're going to do, duct tape it?
Yeah. It's like we're going to duct tape the backside of the whole thing.
Yeah. Anyway.
Strummer John, non-Atlanta United. He sees your UGA shirt on. Thoughts on the Mike White hire?
Shocked. That was funny during the full-time report last night when Tom Brady says he's coming back and Georgia hires Florida's basketball coach. And we're like, what is going on? I'm just glad it's somebody other than Tom Crean. Probably a lovely guy. But wow, he's one of the worst basketball coaches Georgia's had. And Georgia knows about some bad basketball coaches. So,
yeah.
Ron Jersa had more success than Tom Crean by far. It's not even close. So do not sully the good name of Ron Jersa comparing him to that. I understand the economics of everything, but Georgia ain't hurting for money. If you could have seen this Crean thing was a problem a couple of years ago and moved on. But look, you get somebody who has experience getting an SEC program to the SEC to the NCAAs. Sounds like he wasn't in the greatest position of job security in Florida. So there was the possibility that might have been coming to an end. And, you move on Crean and maybe his agent is like, hey, UGA, what's up? Let's talk. I still would love to see Jonas Hayes brought into the program.
Yeah.
And I'm fine if you believe that he's not the right guy to be the head coach right now. Okay, that's fine. I would have been absolutely good if they'd made that decision. If you don't want to do it yet, that's cool. Bring him in as the assistant. And he's your next guy. He's your next man up. Because look, you sign up in general as an SEC basketball coach, you're going to be there 4 to 5 years and probably go after that. So have your next one in house who's got history with the program, and I think can help recruit in a big way and get Georgia basketball to a decent place. They just have to put some emphasis on it. That's always been my frustration. I mean, there's more basketball games than football games, but I went to far more basketball games than football games at UGA, and I loved going to the basketball games and being up close. Tubby Smith was there when I first started at UGA, and I mean, he brought March Madness to UGA, which they never did anything like that before. It was amazing. He came out and said hi to everybody who was in line before going in, which was very cool. Kentucky job comes up, and he's going to take it, but basically the response from the Georgia athletic department at that time in the late 90s was, oh, there's nothing we can do. He's got to go. There's nothing we can even try to keep him. You got to try. You got to at least show that it matters. And they didn't. That was disappointing. Jim Herrick. Enough said.
Covered that.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. But you just have to put some real intent behind developing the program. This feels like a move that's got some intent to it. I mean, you go and you get Florida's coach. Okay. That feels like you're taking it a little more seriously. So let's see. You got the money, so let's do it.
Sam Williamson would like to know what you thought about Thiago Almada's debut.
It was good. I mean, he's relying on instinct in those moments because he's only played 50 minutes in a preseason friendly with some of the guys he was playing with. I'd have to go back and compare who was on the field at that time to who was on the field here. So he's just, I mean, you're playing. It's basically like getting dropped into a pickup game. Showed a couple of good moments, had a good defensive track back in one. He's just got to play. You just got to get him games, get him touches, get him minutes, get him on the practice pitch. It'll get better and better with him. But, I'm just happy he's here. I'm just happy you had him. And you throw him into that situation because of where the game was or what you were seeing. Again, Charlotte had taken away the build-up down the flanks. You needed to do it through individual talent and win the superiority battle that way. Almada's incredibly talented. He just doesn't have the chemistry with the group yet, and that's to be expected. So it was fine. Really like his game and can't wait to see more.
Couple of things from Uncle No Pockets. First and foremost, he says, can we take a second to appreciate the pass that Marcelino Moreno gave to Jake Mulraney?
Can we appreciate Marcelino Moreno in general? Good grief, that guy. Because I think the first time he's hit that ball, and it's not the first time that he has done those kinds of things. Such a great player.
Mm-hmm.
And such a unique player. I mean, he's a tough one to put into a box because he is, they talk about it in Argentina, a player from the Potrero. It's like roughly like the beat up grass or dirt field that you play. It's not playing in the street. It's playing in a field that might have holes in it and maybe a few blades of grass and might be tilted this way and it's bumpy. And you see the players that have that, I don't really care, I can dribble past every player on the field mentality. It comes from playing in those places. And Marcelino's got that. And he's just fearless. I love his game, but he's a tough one to put into a box because of that at times. Because, it's somewhat reminiscent of Barco in that his dribbling runs just destabilize a defense so much. And when he can add this kind of a ball to that destabilization, really hard to defend. And Araujo and Almada and Joseph are all going to benefit from it. That ball to Mulraney, good grief. Good grief.
Storm Chaser Kevin says, he thinks the negativity, so of course everything just slid again. So people are continuing to ask.
User error.
Yeah, exactly. I think the negativity is having the largest payroll possibly in MLS, biggest transfer money in, probably the best attack in the league. It always seems like we play down to our competition. I get it's early, but we're a big club and have big expectations.
MLS isn't like PSG big club. It's not like Real Madrid playing Getafe big club. It's not Manchester City playing Norwich big club. Yeah, they spend a good bit. Payroll, actually, it is more because of your designated players, but it's not that much more. MLS isn't built like these other leagues. You have to not consider it the same way. You have an advantage in talent. You didn't have it in this one to start, first off, because you are missing some of those players that we're talking about. But they've won 2 or 3. They've won both of their home games. Like, it can't just constantly be negative. Like, I'm sorry. If it is, like, I don't know, maybe assess why it's negative for you, or assess why everything turns negative. And it's not that you won, but it's, well, why didn't you win by 2? Why didn't you win by 3? Like, I don't know what to tell you. All I can talk about is the game and the way it played out. And Charlotte played well. Charlotte played better than they've played in their short existence. And Atlanta found a way to get the win, not at full strength. I'll take that in a heartbeat. Ultimately, you're not going to remember how you felt in the 80th minute as you're chasing this one when it's 1-1 when you're going into the postseason. You're not going to remember that feeling when it really matters. You got 3 points. That's what matters. You move on. You work on the things that you want to work on. And in this case, what you want to work on coming out of this is, okay, what happens when we can't build up down the flanks? Because that's something we definitely want to do. All right, good. Now you got prime example. You can work through it. Defending set pieces, of course, and that's an ongoing thing. That's something you'll always work on, and it's something that has to continually be worked on because it's not a strong suit of this team and the roster that's built. And then what did you do well? You had 26 shot creating actions. That's very high. Lennon, with his ability out wide, really good, really useful in this game. Other games, maybe it's not the same. You're getting shot creating actions. You're getting chances created from a number of different people consistently. That is great. Converting chances, look, again, there's not a magic button. You're not going to just do finishing drills all day, every day, but you're going to work on it. You're going to continue to work on finishing different kinds of chances. And that's what you're taking away from this one. That's it. But I push back on the idea that because Atlanta spends on transfer fees and because they have 3 designated players and because they have a lot of talent, they should win every game. No question. Doesn't matter. They're going to run away with the league. It's not Liga. It's not the Premier League. It's not La Liga. It's not even the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich versus everybody else. MLS is structured differently to where, yes, you can spend more, but you're not doing it across your whole roster, and you can't spend that much more. There are limitations to this. And when you're missing some of those people, as you see right now, it's harder. But you got 2 wins out of 3. Not really a problem right now.
Mazzano has a question about Emerson Hindman, as I was responding to Sean Vergara just a second ago.
Okay.
When Hindman comes back, is he really an upgrade to what we've seen on the field recently? It's been so long since seeing him on the field. My short-term memory doesn't remember how he stacks up against our current depth.
It can be. I thought Hindman was the best player Atlanta had before he got hurt under Gabriel Heinze. I thought he understood the system and the way that it was intended to work and was the one who was making a lot of it work. And when he went out, it was a huge struggle. Hindman's a good player. Hindman didn't get the time, going to Europe. He didn't get the time in the youth national teams. He didn't get all that by just being there. He earned it. But now he's coming back off an ACL injury. And look, we saw how difficult that was for Joseph Martinez. Like, it sounds like Hindman's didn't have nearly the complications that Joseph's did, which is great. But he's not going to be at his best when he first gets back into the team. And that's what's going to be hard about this, because Mateus Hosechu has been very, very good. Very, very good. Amar Sejdic has been good.
Mm-hmm.
Sejdic has been good. He's going to be the odd man out when people come back, in my opinion, because I think Hosechu has been even better. But you've got so many different possibilities in that midfield. It could be Sosa and Alonso sitting behind Moreno. It could be Sosa or Alonso with Hosechu sitting behind Moreno, with Hosechu as more of an 8 getting forward some. It could be Ibarra instead of Hosechu. It could be Alonso or Sosa. Again, I think that's a decision, or it could be both. Hindman could come in and play the 8. You're going to see sometimes maybe where Moreno doesn't play centrally, maybe Almada does, whatever. Maybe Moreno and Almada play on the flanks and Araujo has a day off, or he's still recovering from a hamstring injury. You're going to see a lot of variety. Heineman will have to just get back to his 100% best. That is all he can focus on right now. And it's not going to be easy because of the competition for spots. He might play some with Atlanta United too to get games. You're not going to rush him after what happened with Joseph, but he's got to get back to his best before we can even have the conversation. I think Mateus Osechu is going to be hard to displace in general, in my opinion. But if you decide that Sosa Alonso gives you more balance behind that front four, well, that might be the way. But I don't think Alonso plays more than, or doesn't start more than 20 games. Yeah. It keeps going up because you got to get Sosa back for that number to change. 15 was what he started last year. I thought that'd be his limit here. Maybe it's 20. It's not going to be 34. Well, 33 in this case, since he didn't play in Colorado. It's not going to be that in starts, in my opinion. But where do you draw the line? Maybe in the summer he gets some rest to have him fresh for the end. You get Sosa fully up to speed, and maybe Sosa plays a lot in the middle of the season. Then Alonso is well rested to contribute in those moments where you do need to lock things down a little more defensively. For Heineman, it's just going to be getting back to 100%. There's just no way to put a timetable on it.
Trivia question from Ricky Ricardo having to do with the broadcast. He said, they said on the broadcast, Joseph was the first player to score against 25 different MLS teams. He was trying to figure out who he hasn't scored against.
We scored against Charlotte. He has scored against Cincinnati. He has not scored against Austin. He has not scored against Miami, I think. And then there's one more. He scored against LAFC, right?
Yeah, I thought so in the crazy game out there, yeah. Did he score in Vancouver?
No, but I think he scored against Vancouver here because you've played Vancouver a few times. Maybe it's LAFC or Vancouver, but he hasn't scored against Austin, I know. I don't think he scored against Miami. No, he scored against Miami, I think. I think he had the penalty against Miami, so maybe they're off. That's weird. I don't know. I know Austin's won. That's all I got. It's 1 of 3. What are you laughing about? What you got then?
Oh,
you're going to laugh at me for not having the answer to that.
I'm laughing in general, just that we're workshopping this.
That's how you answer a question, John.
Usually for me, I'm like you. I go to the furthest point in the schedule and then try to work my way back.
That's not what I did. I went from the newest team and worked back.
Yeah, because they haven't played Austin yet. That's one.
Yeah, you haven't scored against Austin yet. That's a fact. You scored against Charlotte. They're new. Okay, got that one out of the way.
Yeah. Like you said, I'm trying to work my way this way from the west.
Okay, well, this is bad radio, so let's move on.
I know.
I only know Austin, Ricky. That's all I got.
Okay. Ricky says he scored against LAFC, so we know Austin. And there was one more here in the timeline that will get
a penalty against Miami, so Miami's not on the list.
Oh, Dini Baby. Do we know if Will and Jess from Charlotte's radio team have their own version of a full-time report so folks can catch their version of what happened yesterday?
I don't know if they structure it the same way. I mean, they have a post-game show, but I don't know if they put that out as a podcast or not. The Odyssey app, you can rewind and listen to things. You can't listen to live events, so you can't listen to the game. I don't know if they include the full-time report or their post-game show as part of the game broadcast. So you could do that on Odyssey, at least for 24 hours. But I don't know what their podcast situation is in that realm. So I'm not sure. I don't have an answer to that. But they will talk about it on Crown Corner, which is Wednesdays at 10 o'clock, and then it does go out as a podcast as well. It's video at 10 o'clock is when it is live.
Two other things on Twitter, and we are caught up. Ryan Walker has done the public service and has announced everything for fantasy, so all of the numbers are up and everything is updated.
Rocking.
And Anton on Twitter at DawsonATL1 has a comment about Breck Shea. Pro not letting Breck Shea be great by giving him the red card in the Inter Miami match this weekend.
I didn't see if he deserved the red card or not.
I thought he did from looking at it, because he was really trying to grab at the jersey and keep anything from happening behind him as he had been beaten, and so it looked like to me like it was a red. I thought so.
I don't. Okay, what was the red card for?
It was
it denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity?
I thought it was dog. So yeah.
Did he grab the shirt of the opponent?
Absolutely.
Okay, so yes, he committed the foul.
Grabbed him, spun him around, tried to keep him from going forward.
I'm trying to work you through your decision making here, John. Mm-hmm. So follow me, because just trying to do the way you described it first didn't answer anything. Denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity.
Yes.
He grabbed the shirt.
Yes.
So he committed a foul.
Yes.
So to get to the red card, it was outside the 18, so it's a red card. It's not a penalty.
Yes.
The grab could have been a penalty anyway if he's not trying to play the ball, but we'll leave that to the side in our referee 101 right now. Where did it happen on the field?
Close, just past center circle, really.
Okay, so that's very far away. So is that an obvious goal scoring opportunity? That brings into question. So if it's that far away, was there any other defenders in the vicinity?
Do not recall that there was.
But it's 50 yards away from goal.
Yes.
I have I have not seen this. That's why I'm asking the questions I am. You got to be really sure of it if you're calling dog so that far away. People will say, and this is where we talked about the referee discussion earlier. This is one thing that frustrates me that you hear in games. People will say he's the last man. It's a red card. That's not what the red card is. Denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity. DOGSO. When we say DOGSO, that's what the acronym is. Denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity. Is dribbling on goal from 50 yards an obvious goal scoring opportunity? Not always. Not always. I'd have to see where the other defenders are. I'd have to see if their legs have been broken and they can't run. Have they fallen down? Have they gotten sick? I mean, what is it? I would think somebody could have recovered potentially. Maybe not. There's the further away from goal, because everything's kind of a scale when you're making that decision. The further away from goal, the other stuff has to be slam dunk. But it's not just as simple as he was the last man, so it's a red card. No. Is it an obvious goal scoring opportunity? And that's what you have to answer. So just when you hear somebody say last man red card, that's incorrect. Just that simple. When it's just that pure, that's all they say. That's incorrect. Was it an obvious goal scoring opportunity?
Burned is saying it was a soft red. He says it gets called every time in MLS, but it was soft. Didn't grab the shirt. He had his hands on the shoulders, and
so now he's disputing what your description.
Well, because what I'm saying is that I'm lumping the notion of grabbing the shirt as, it's like, yeah, he had his hand on the shoulder, but to me, that is a conclusive act. It's like combining those things.
Those are very different things, John. Grabbing the shirt and hand on the shoulder are not the same thing.
And spinning him around with the momentum that he's grabbing him with. So.
All right. I'm going to turn this audio down so it doesn't bleed over, but I am going to play the video, and they have to show an ad to me first because it's the MLS website. So I will give you my live reaction to watching this. I was not able to watch it because I didn't have power all day Saturday, and it kept teasing me on when it was coming back. I'm getting my ad. It's wonderful. Okay, here we go. So midfield flicked on, gets away, Rodriguez. Okay, so it's first off, it's not really near the center circle. So I have to dispute my information that was given to me, John. The foul happens 40. Well, we can do the math. So. And this is something to keep in mind. This is actually really helpful, and it helps me kind of determine distances a little bit. So the top of the arc's 22 yards from goal, from the penalty area. The edge, the furthest point of the center circle is 10 yards from the midfield stripe, but you might not know the exact length of the field. So I always go from the penalty area. So the top of the arc, 22. it looks like they cut the strips here to give you 5-yard gaps. That's pretty typical. When they do have football lines down or faint ones, it makes it even easier. So this happens if they did 5-yard marks, which looks to be consistent based off where the penalty arc is. That's 25. That's 30.
35?
That's 35. No, the foul happens 40. Okay. The ball is when it gets away. And it's Rodriguez who had been flicked through. However, DeAndre Yedlin is right next to Breck Shea. That's my issue with the red here. I agree with Bernd. It's soft. Like, can you justify it? Sure. Should you? Let me watch it at full time again. Flick through. Rodriguez gets a touch, beats Shea. Yedlin is running with Rodriguez. You have to judge Yedlin's speed versus Rodriguez. I think he gets there. He's coming from an angle. Rodriguez is going to slow down. The goalkeeper's at the top of the 18. I would argue that it's not the obvious goal scoring opportunity. It's a light foul. He kind of grabs. He's not even grabbing the shoulder. I think it's more the hip. Rodriguez knows it's coming. Rodriguez is smart and is trying to draw it. It's going to get yelled at either way. If you give a yellow, LAFC is going to go apoplectic. If you give the red, Miami's going to go apoplectic. You could have gotten away with not giving a red there. You absolutely could have because of Yedlin's proximity. The distance 40 versus near midfield is very different to me. It's more of an obvious goal scoring opportunity where it happened as opposed to being like in the center circle at midfield. So the distance is less of an issue for me. It's more that Yedlin is there to put pressure on it. Yedlin doesn't have to win it,
just to be in the area.
He's close enough to where I'm questioning red there. I would have probably gone yellow. But it's a judgment call. It's a 50-50. Shea puts himself in the situation by getting beat and grabbing at Rodriguez. So he's not innocent in it either.
And let's see, that is the last element on both Twitch and Twitter. It catches us up, and it looks like Nashville is the other team that Joseph has not scored against. So it's Austin and Nashville.
Well, I thought it was 3.
And so
I thought you said 25. Well, he doesn't score against Atlanta, obviously. So yes, and that is 2. That is correct. Thank you.
So there it is.
I can figure things out eventually. That's all. That's everything that people have asked on the Twitch page.
Everything that
you didn't say last call. You didn't say if I missed it. You think you got everything.
I think I got everything.
All right. I'll give it like a minute before somebody says, you didn't get my question.
Reese, keep your questions if I missed it. Last call.
Okay. The Sofa Score team of the week. And we'll talk more about the rest of MLS tomorrow with Dylan Butler. Dane St. Clair from Minnesota. Minnesota goes to Red Bulls and wins. Nobody really saw that one coming. 3 defenders, Nathan Harriel, it looks like has gotten the right back job for Philadelphia. Bill Tuiloma, who had a goal for Portland. And Rafael Sichos, the Bundesliga signing for Chicago, who has not given up a goal all season. Midfielders, Junior Urso from Orlando in a losing effort. Really good performance from him. Mark Anthony Kay got a goal. He's in here. Lucas Zelarayan has made a camp on the Sofa Score team of the week. Darwin Quintero with a great performance for the Houston Dynamo. Up front, Ben Bender and his performance. So you talk about how Charlotte was difficult. Ben Bender makes the Sofa Score team of the week. Tyler Magno and Brandon Vasquez complete the Sofa Score team of the week in a 3-4-3 this week. Those guys were all, I think, everybody rated over an 8. Harriel was the lowest at 7.7 of the defenders. Dane St. Clair got a 9.8. He had a penalty save, but he was pretty good. Pretty good for Minnesota. Final questions in. Bring them in. A couple other things on the board before we get into soccer over there tonight at 7 o'clock. Dane Kelly, first player in USL Championship history to score 100 goals, scored in his debut for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. 3-0 win at Memphis 901. Birmingham Legion had just under 10,000 fans yesterday for their USL opener at Protective Stadium. I hope that number continues to rise. Jordan Peacock scored his 17th goal of the year over the weekend for Young Boys. Call him in, Greg. Mm-hmm. Couple of things from Soccer America, which is a highly recommended subscription if you don't already have it. It's very affordable. They stress about the 3 games coming up. First off, there's going to be some hard decisions on the roster because of players not playing a lot and players who are hurt. Second, the easiest path to the World Cup, you beat Panama at home. Second game. Easiest path. You do that. You clinch no worse than a playoff game with a win. If you win that and Costa Rica doesn't win their last 3, you're in. So it's that simple. You beat Panama and Costa Rica doesn't go perfect in their last 3 games. And remember, you play Costa Rica in the last one. You're in. You're not in the playoff. You're in. Now, there's plenty of other scenarios that get you in as well. But also keep this in mind. You could beat Mexico. You could tie Mexico. But if you lose to Panama, then you're in danger and not qualifying, period. The Panama game is so critical in the second one. So go ahead and file this away. Tyler Adams on a yellow card, suspension, tightrope. I don't think he plays at the Estadio Azteca because of that, because you have to have him for Panama. Period. I don't think he plays against Mexico to not risk that. So keep that in mind. If he doesn't start against Mexico, don't freak out. It's because the Panama game is actually more important the way things work out. And it's more likely to win as well because you're at home and you should beat them. But that game becomes critical. You could beat Mexico, lose to Panama, and still not go. You beat Mexico, you're probably in. Or you beat Panama, you're probably in. You beat Mexico, no guarantees if you lose to Panama. Weird stuff, but keep that in mind. UEFA Champions League, Bruno Fernandes has tested positive. He missed Manchester United's game over the weekend. He could miss the clash with Atleti. That is not 100% determined yet, but it could happen. Rumors and innuendo to keep an eye on. Arsenal interested in bringing Felipe Coutinho in. Aston Villa have the option to buy, but Arsenal is lurking. Looks like he's not going back to Barca either way. They are trying to sign Adama Traore on a permanent deal, and they might offer Ricky Puig as part of the deal to get it done. Angel Di Maria wants to leave PSG this summer, could go back to Benfica. MLS teams might want to give a call to Angel Di Maria's representatives. 33, I don't know if he comes. If Benfica offers, it might be hard for him to leave Europe at this point. He's got love for that club, but you might want to give a call. He probably will be an important part of Argentina's World Cup roster at the end of the year. Arturo Vidal looks set to leave Inter this summer. Flamengo interested in bringing him back to South America. MLS clubs don't call. I don't think he's as much of a fit. Don't call, because I think where he plays in the park, he's not as effective as a Di Maria could be. 33, 34. Sometimes those guys can fit. Sometimes they don't. I would not call on Vidal. Roma planning a summer bid for Serginho Dest, according to Corriere dello Sport. And according to Javier Miguel of AS, Mo Salah is Xavi's choice if they don't get Erling Haaland. Salah is reportedly open to leaving Liverpool. That stuff has dragged on, and Salah has played the game with the Spanish media about talking about how much he'd love to play in La Liga and this, that, and the other. So that could get interesting. Awful news for Germany and Bayer Leverkusen. Florian Wirtz, who has been one of the most promising teenagers in the world, 10 goals, 14 assists in 31 games for Leverkusen, 18 years old, ACL injury. Tore it yesterday in his left knee, had to come off midway through the first half. He's going to be out for a long time. That is an awful, awful blow for Leverkusen and for Germany, because he, I think, would have started factoring in even more. So 10 goals, 14 assists at 18 years old in the Bundesliga. Serie A is hugely competitive. Inter lost ground in the title race with an injury time equalizer yesterday. They do have a game in hand. Napoli have back-to-back wins. Milan beat Empoli 1-0 over the weekend. So Milan has a 3-point lead over Napoli, 4-point lead over Inter. Inter's got the game in hand. Barcelona's won 4 games in a row in La Liga. Ferran Torres with 2 goals. Aubameyang got another one. Ricky Puig scored one off the bench. Dembele had another assist. He's been playing well. We'll see where he goes. But the Xavi renaissance is continuing to look very, very good. We'll get into the Prem and all of that tonight on Soccer Over There. And yeah, it's going to be pretty complicated talking about this Chelsea-Newcastle game from the weekend on a lot of different fronts. Did anybody else come in with questions that you might have missed earlier?
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Storm Chaser Kevin added 2.
Okay. Well, yeah, because you had said he had 2, and then you only gave me 1, so I figured that was something.
So we'll go backwards. And the NPSL question:
okay,
do the Revs have a new venue this year?
Yeah, they're at. It's kind of a replacement venue because Henry County High School was replaced. Their place, Warhawk Stadium, was the stadium for Henry County High School. Henry County High School was replaced by McDonough High School, new building, new facilities, all of it. So they are moving to the new McDonough High School Stadium. I don't know if it has a different name or not. I don't know if McDonough kept the Warhawks name or not, or if they went to a different mascot. I'm honestly not sure. But anyway, they're playing at the replacement for where they have been. I don't know the situation with Henry County Schools, but with that facility not being used as an active school now, I knew that at some point there was a concern that maybe that stadium would become not usable. So they're moving into a much newer facility. Upgrade.
And he is also asking, McDonough are the Warhawks, by the way.
Okay. I thought they would have kept it. That would have been weird if they didn't. But they did change. It's not Henry County High anymore. It's McDonough High School.
And the second question from Kevin, we do also have a question from Nick's here at the buzzer.
Cool.
But Storm Chaser Kevin wants to know, soft tacos or crunchy tacos?
Soft tacos. There is a good place for crunchy tacos. Absolutely, I have no problem with it. But if I'm going in general on my tacos, I am going true, I guess, cantina style tacos with corn tortillas, preferably as homemade and fresh as I can find. And my meat option, and a lot of times I will go al pastor. That's probably my favorite in general. And onion and cilantro, simple. Salsa, good. I mean, easy. That's the best taco for me. Do I like a gringo style, crunchy, hard shell, ground beef, cheese, and lettuce and all that occasionally? Absolutely, I do, especially if the meat is seasoned very, very well. But no, if I'm picking a taco to live by, it's the tacos al pastor with really good handmade tortillas.
Nix admits that this question is a tangent from his earlier thought.
Oh, no. Nix, you doubled down on it. What do you got?
Well, no, he's like, so who's the starter in Mexico if both Turner and Stefan?
Oh, that's different. In Mexico, well, and it's probably going to be the same starter for the 3, I would assume. You don't want to bounce it around. I think it's down to Ethan Horvath or Sean Johnson. I think those are the 2 that you trust. The wild card would be Slonina. That'd be a real wild card, but I mean, he's got three shutouts in 3 games. He's a teenager. I don't know him personally, so I'd have to make sure that I know that he's got that I don't give an F kind of gene in him, like David Ochoa has, that he can handle these situations. I think he might. I honestly think he might. But Horvath has started playing again for Nottingham Forest. Sean Johnson is pretty steady, pretty reliable. He's prone to making a big mistake here and again, and that would worry me. I don't know, and that's not where you want to be. But this is not because of anything Berhalter did wrong. And again, there is the concern about Turner if 40 follower anonymous Twitter accounts have information that other credible journalists don't, which is unlikely. But if that factored into this, then yes, then of course you can have the conversation separately. But right now you have 2 goalkeepers who are unavailable. They would be your starters. You got to go to your third. I think it's Horvath or it's Johnson. And I haven't seen Horvath with Nottingham Forest enough lately to tell you where he is in form. Sean Johnson is Sean Johnson. He's the Sean Johnson that we know at this point. He's the 3rd or 4th best goalkeeper that you could have out of this group. Slonina is potentially changing that paradigm, but I don't know if he's changed it enough just yet. Do you want to trust a teenager in these 3 games that you got to get enough points to get into the World Cup in? I don't know him well enough to tell you. Chicago Fire fans would probably be better positioned to give you that, but his performances have been great.
And we have officially been caught up.
Officially?
Officially. Although Michael Ruiz did ask if we were doing soccer over there tonight. And I told
we
him
are doing soccer over there tonight. Pilgrim asked about the watch party at Macon Street Tacos. I believe that's for the Open Cup game. Very possible we are doing something with that. Not 100% determined just yet. Not 100% determined just yet. I thought Horvath got back into the job, DM Tim. I can check that really quick so we can be clear on it. I know he wasn't starting early on, but I think he either got there because of injuries or form or what have you. But yeah, he's played the last 5 for Nottingham Forest. He didn't play the 5 before that. I could scroll back and give you more, but he's played the last 5, and he's been, from a SOFA score perspective, over a 7.0, over a 7.2 every time. 4 games in the championship and 1 in the FA Cup, 5 in a row since February 22nd.
And so you're looking at Ethan Horvath, and we've seen what.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I mean, that's fine. If he wasn't playing, I would not be fine with it. I would go to Johnson. But if he's playing well, he's probably your answer. Slonina would be a bigger risk. Johnson is fine, but I'll go Horvath.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I'll go with Horvath, Johnson, and then see where Slonina is the 3.
Seeing all these questions come in now that I opened the comments, since you said you'd gotten everything. Burned asked if we're calling the Tees game on ESPN Plus this week. We are, Wednesday, 7:30. ESPN Plus, we will be there. Kickoff about 7:36 in Kennesaw. At New York Red Bulls 2 come into town with 1 game under their belt. Oh, this roster and this prep is going to be fun.
New coach,
same style. Probably going to play a lot of academy kids. So
a lot of high numbers on the jerseys.
Possibly. This isn't Liga MX, so they
don't
have 3-digit numbers. Right? No, they don't have that, but I don't know their numbering structure. Not everybody does it that way, so we'll see. But anyway, that is on Wednesday. Yes, you should be at the Fraction on Wednesday. Nix and everybody else, for sure.
Absolutely.
Pilgrim, I don't know if there's enough to make that work on a capo stand. Well, Louisville City, I mean, it's their big team. So when teams have capo stands for reserve teams, that's a big deal. You know, you can't really compare it to Louisville City because that's all Louisville City has. That is their top team. So I would hope they'd have a capo stand. I want to see that stadium at some point. I do want to get up to Louisville for a game and see that venue. I like what they're doing. It would be awesome. It absolutely would be. Praying for little Jake's middle school team. They need a goal. He needs a goal, and they need a win. I'm on it. We're hoping for Jake. See a bunch of you coming to the Tees game on Wednesday. That's awesome.
Yes.
That'll do it for us. Soccer over there tonight, 7:00. We will catch up with our friend Nick Alifi on his travels through Italy and his experiences seeing games and stuff there. We'll get caught up as best we can on the very fluid Chelsea situation, on some of the absurdities of Chelsea and Newcastle yesterday that you saw on and off the field. We will get into all of that. We will bounce around the leagues in Latin America as well, as we are prone to do. Picks of the week will return. All of the chaos tonight at 7:00, twitch.tv/soccer down here. Hopefully you can join us live and join the conversation. If not, you can listen to the podcast later, just like you can do with this very program. So if you had questions about Atlanta United and Charlotte and we didn't get to them, or you're listening as a podcast later on, send them our way on Twitter. Send them our way as an email, soccerdownhere@gmail.com. We will get into them tomorrow on the show. Dylan Butler will join us tomorrow as we will talk about MLS Week 3. Lots of storylines to bounce around on that. Hopefully we'll have someone talking a little deeper about Montreal later in the week after their CONCACAF Champions League match this week. And we'll have the Friday free kick this week as well as normal. And Nico Moreno will join us as normal. Busy week. Early in the season. This is just the flow that we have these days. Thanks for being part of it today. Appreciate it. See y'all later. Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.